Chapter 819. Inside a private clinic. There were $10,000 and a Viper pistol in front of the doctor. "Pick one," Angumi Khan said. The doctor grabbed the $10,000 and said, "My clinic is simple. I can treat her, but I can't guarantee that I can cure her." "You can't cure her? Then I'll send you to hell." Angumi Khan grabbed the pistol on the table and pointed it at the doctor's head. His appearance was ferocious. He looked like a villain who could kill even women and children. A few beads of cold sweat appeared on the doctor's forehead. Charlotte placed a handwritten list on the table in front of the doctor. "This is the medicine needed for the treatment. If you don't have it here, hurry up and call someone to send it over. With this medicine, you can cure my friend." The doctor glanced at the list and picked up the phone on the table to make a call. When the clinic doctor called someone to send the medicine over, Charlotte had already started to collect the medicine needed from the clinic's medicine cabinet. He was not a doctor, but his medical knowledge was more comprehensive than a professional doctor's. In the past, he had even used acupuncture to cure Shunturin. However, Peaceful's injuries were internal injuries caused by the burn and the explosion. Her injuries were serious, and his acupuncture skills could not be used at all. After the doctor finished the call, he looked at Charlotte, who was holding a pile of medicine, with a strange expression. "Sir, are you a doctor too? Watch your mouth. Don't ask me any questions. Come in with me and be my assistant." Charlotte walked into the treatment room with the medicine. Peaceful was lying on a simple bed. She was covered with a white blanket. Her face was bloody, and her breathing was weak. Her condition was still bad. "I will definitely cure you and take you home," Charlotte thought to himself. The surgery began. "Sir, you don't need an x-ray to know the injury on this lady's bones." "How did you do it?" "Sir, oh my God, you must be the chief surgeon of a big hospital, right?" "Sir, I've never seen you do surgery like this. Your hands are more precise than a machine. How did you train to do that?" "Sir." Time passed bit by bit, and the light of dawn dispersed the darkness. A new day had arrived. People were coming and going on the streets, and the traffic was like a shuttle. A few cows were leisurely strolling on the street, nibbling on the grass in the green belt. In India, cows are sacred animals. They can do whatever they want. Serenity's operation was over. She was almost wrapped up like a mummy. She did not wake up under the effects of the anesthetic, but her condition has stabilized. Charlotte and Angumi Khan carried her out of the clinic and placed her in the compartment of a small container truck. In the carriage, Angumi Khan's men had already prepared a medical stretcher. The small container truck entered the road and headed in the direction of the suburbs. The first safe point had been abandoned, and Angumi Khan had arranged for a new safe point. In the car, Charlotte was lost in thought as he looked at Serene's face wrapped in gauze. He really wanted to know what happened in the laboratory last night, but no matter how much he analyzed and guessed, he couldn't come up with a reliable conclusion. He also had a lot of questions in his head. In Paris, when the black-robed man first appeared, it was obvious that he had made a gesture of cutting his neck. That meant to kill him, but this time it was obvious that the black-robed man could have killed him, but the black-robed man gave up. Also, the black-robed man obviously knew about the existence of the AE capsule, but he did not take it away. Why was that? "In 3 years, give me the answer, and then I will kill you." This was the sentence left by the black-robed man on the rooftop. The black-robed man wanted an answer. What answer? And why was it 3 years? When the black-robed man left, he obviously entered the laboratory on the 30th floor, and then there was an explosion in the laboratory. What happened at that time? He destroyed Zhu Xuanyue's reincarnation plan. Did the two beings of the same level fight? But why was everyone, even the corpses and machines, destroyed, and only Serenity was still alive? These questions were like thorns in Charlotte's heart. He could not pull them out, and it made him feel uncomfortable. "Boss, what's the next step?" Angumi Khan asked. Charlotte said, "Stay in a safe place for a few days. When Serenity's situation gets better, we will think of a way to return to China. Also, get your people to find out what the police are doing in New Delhi. The Hattori family has bribed Indian soldiers before, so it's hard to say that they won't bribe the Indian police." Angumi Khan said, "No problem. I'll get my people to find out." 2 hours later, the small container truck arrived at a village. The village was very simple, and the houses were low and dilapidated. A group of dirty children ran after the container truck. Engumi Khan cursed a few times before chasing the group of children away. Finally, the truck came to a farmyard at the end of the village. A young and beautiful Indian woman called everyone out of the truck, looking very enthusiastic. Engumi Khan hugged her waist and kissed her on the face. After staying in the two safe places, Charlotte finally understood that the so-called safe place was just the home of Engumi Khan's woman. However, Engumi Khan obviously had more than one woman. He must have a lot of safe places. After settling down, Charlotte ate some of the pilaf made by the hostess, took a shower, and then returned to his room. He turned on a modified hacker's computer, plugged in the mobile network card, and connected to the internet. In just a few minutes, he hacked into the New Delhi Police's system. He saw some information. The New Delhi Police had classified the explosion and shooting that happened in the headquarters building of Qianli Biotechnology Company last night as a terrorist attack. They had applied for the intervention of India's anti-terrorist force, 62 Air Force Commando Team. 62 Air Force Commando Team was India's most elite anti-terrorist force. Its role in the Indian military system was equivalent to the United States Delta Force. Whether it was training or equipment, they were the world's best. After reading this information, Charlotte couldn't help but sneer. You want to catch me in India? My Hattori, why don't you ask if I agree or not? Well, you want to catch me, but I want to kill your Hattori family. Let's play in India and see who kills who. Then, Charlotte opened Google Maps. After more than 10 minutes, he chose a place. It was a place in Punjab, India, on the border with Pakistan, from a woman's moaning voice came from the next room. It was Engumi Khan's woman's voice. She moaned in an exaggerated manner, giving the impression that a person who had been hungry for a long time suddenly got a sumptuous dinner. Then there was the creaking sound of the wooden bed and the sound of Engumi Khan kicking. The wooden wall was not soundproof at all. The sound made Charlotte frown. He reached out and knocked on the wall. Lower your voice, Engumi Khan. You guys are making me unable to work. It was Engumi Khan's voice. Sorry, boss. We'll lower our voice. He seemed to have covered his woman's mouth. The woman still made some strange sounds, but it was obviously much more low-key than before. Engumi Khan, Charlotte said in Mandarin through the wall, get ready. We will set off for Punjab the day after tomorrow, and then enter Pakistan. We will take a plane from Pakistan back to China. The purpose of speaking in Mandarin was to make Engumi Khan's woman unable to understand him. Engumi Khan understood Charlotte's intentions. He also said in Mandarin, no problem. We're not far from Punjab. We can get there in 10 hours at most. In addition, I want to bribe a policeman. Bribe a policeman? Engumi Khan's voice was full of surprise. I want him to help us pass on a message. What message? His informant got the information that we are secretly fleeing to Punjab, preparing to enter Pakistan, and then take a plane from Pakistan back to China. This, boss, isn't this betraying our own whereabouts? Since we want the other party to know our whereabouts, we can directly leak it. Why do we need to bribe the police? Our opponents are very cunning people. If we directly leak it, the people of the Belly family will suspect that it is a trap. But for the Indian police to provide such information, that's a different matter. Do you understand what I mean? Therefore, the police you want to bribe can't be ordinary people. They must have a certain amount of weight. It is best to be a person in charge of intelligence work. I understand what you mean. The corruption in India makes me, an Indian, feel disgusted. In India, there is almost no police who can't be bribed. I'll go to do something later. Well, I will go first. It was Engumi Khan's voice. Love's little bed was ringing. Charlotte smiled bitterly. He closed the computer and left his room. He felt uncomfortable just listening to that voice. He really couldn't stay in the house anymore. Coming to the courtyard, Charlotte took out his satellite phone and dialed the number of a member of the Flying Zodiac Squad. The phone was connected a minute later. He said lightly, Your Highness Prince Khalifa, can you recognize my voice? This is Charlotte. I was wondering who knew my number. I didn't expect it to be you. My friend, I was just about to call you. I have already prepared an order for the scavenger IFV for you. I want 50 of them. That's no problem. Also, I want to ask you for a favor. You're welcome, my friend. What do you want me to do for you? Can you let the news media in the United Arab Emirates report that I am visiting the United Arab Emirates, inspecting the market, and receiving your grand hospitality? Huh? I don't understand what you mean. I mean, I am in the United Arab Emirates now. I will visit your palace, and I will have lunch with you. As for the photos, it is not a problem to PS a few, right? Hee. I understand, no problem. Thank you, my friend. The IFE you want, I will send it to the United Arab Emirates. Goodbye. Charlotte hung up the phone. A muffled groan came from the room behind him. Angumi Khan had obviously finished his business. Charlotte smiled bitterly and shook his head. How did the vigorous Angumi Khan get it done so quickly? In terms of men's ability in that aspect, Angumi Khan obviously didn't even have 20% of his skills. He didn't know why, but amidst all these chaotic thoughts and feelings, my Hattori's appearance suddenly appeared in his mind, as well as her smooth and exquisite skin that was even more beautiful than silk. Chapter 820. That night, the New Delhi TV broadcasted the news of the terrorist attack on the Qianli Biotechnology Company, but there was no scene of a gunfight. There were only pictures of firefighters fighting the fire and police evacuating the crowd. The spokesman of the New Delhi police also appeared on camera. He condemned the terrorist attack and hinted that the terrorists were terrorists from the East. He was very subtle and deliberately mystifying. Obviously, someone had been bribed and said so according to the wishes of the briber. It was not difficult to guess who the briber was. It was my Hattori, who represented the Hattori family. It was not that my Hattori did not want to put Charlotte's photo up as a wanted terrorist, but the briber did not dare to do so. Charlotte was not only an important figure in China's military industry, but also the vice president of China's Academy of Sciences. Such an important figure, if the Indian police said he was a terrorist, then the matter would not be under the control of the Hattori family. Some things could not be done with money. My Hattori should be very clear about this. If she wanted to deal with Charlotte, she could only do it in the dark. Even in a place like New Delhi, she did not dare to take any action openly. On the same night, after using hacking, Charlotte finally found out that the young man was Hattori Masao's illegitimate son. This result surprised Charlotte. He did not expect my Hattori to have such a younger brother. Hattori Tsukihito, Hattori Masao's son. We will meet again. Xiaolei's lips curled into a cold smile. Then, according to my Hattori's private number that he hacked, he quickly found my Hattori's location through satellite positioning. My Hattori's location surprised him. She was actually in the UAE embassy in New Delhi. After locating my Hattori's location, his first thought was to hack into the security system of the UAE embassy in New Delhi. But after thinking about it, he gave up. No matter how good a hacker was, it was impossible to be traceless. If he attacked the security system of the UAE embassy in New Delhi, the other party was likely to discover him and lock onto his current location. At that time, the situation would become even worse. As the world's hegemon, the UAE's electronic warfare prowess was also at its peak. The security systems of the UAE intelligence department and overseas agencies were also controlled by specialized electronic warfare units. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he didn't want to step into this minefield. My Hattori's position made Charlotte worried. The Hattori family had cooperated with the CIA during the Tawang battle in Xi province. Would they not cooperate this time? It was conceivable that if my Hattori leaked his information in India to the CIB, would the CIB still be idle? During the last battle in Tawang, the CIB had already escalated their operations. Before Gu Qian died, he also told him that the United States now saw him as a strategic threat. Their plan against him was to kill him first and then take his body away. If the CIB came to India to take action against him again, it could be imagined that the CIB's actions would be unprecedentedly tough. With this analysis, Charlotte couldn't sit still. He left his room, but just as he was about to call Angumi Khan, Akiko Tsukino walked over. I was just about to discuss something with you guys, Charlotte said. She's awake, Akiko Tsukino said. What? Charlotte was surprised. Really? Go see for yourself, Akiko Tsukino said. Charlotte walked toward Peaceful's room. He expected Peaceful to wake up at least the next morning, but he didn't expect her to wake up now. Right? You said you were going to discuss something with us. What was it about? Akiko Tsukino asked as she followed Charlotte's footsteps. Charlotte said, I found out that my Hattori's position is under the control of the U.S. ambassador in New Delhi. I'm worried that this isn't a one-sided operation by the Hattori family. You're worried that the CIB will get involved? Yes. I'm not just worried about the CIB. I suspect they'll send out the Delta Force. Charlotte's expression was grave. So, we have to change our plans. We can't wait until the day after tomorrow to leave. We have to leave here as soon as possible. Okay, you go see Peaceful. I'll tell the others to get ready. Akiko Tsukino turned around and left. Charlotte entered Peaceful's room. The light in the room was dim, and there was a thick smell of medicine in the air. Peaceful was lying on a medical stretcher. Her body was covered in gauze. Only her nose, eyes, and mouth were exposed. There was a wooden stick next to the medical stretcher. There was an IV drip hanging from the wooden stick. It was dripping anti-inflammatory liquid to Peaceful. Her skin was burned in many places. Although she had done the relevant treatment, the inflammation had to be controlled. Otherwise, the burned skin would become inflamed, festered, or even sick. Peaceful seemed to sense someone getting close to her. She slowly opened her eyes and looked at Xiaolei. Her lips moved, but she only made a sound. Xiaolei was shocked. Charlotte sat on a wooden stool next to the stretcher and said with concern, It's okay. You're safe now. You'll be fine in a few days. Although he said that, his heart was very heavy. Her skin was burned in many places, especially the skin on her face. It had almost destroyed her entire face. With this level of burn, even if she had plastic surgery, she would have to go through dozens of surgeries, big and small. Plus, there was no guarantee that she would recover completely. She was so young and beautiful, but something like this had happened to her. How was she going to face the rest of her life? You. Peaceful's mouth finally made a clear sound, but it was only one word. She still looked very weak. Charlotte gently patted the back of her hand and warmly said, Don't worry. You're still very weak. You'll be fine in a few days. Yes. Peaceful said one more word. Charlotte was shocked. Boo. Peaceful said the third word. This sentence made Xiaolei completely stunned. That was the first thing Peaceful said when she woke up. However, regardless of whether she was in Jing or in Jing with Zhu Xuanyue's existence, it was impossible for her not to recognize him. Had the explosion in the lab damaged her brain and made her lose her memory? With Zhu Xuanyue's existence, even if a cannon was fired at her, it would not have damaged her brain. But if she was a pure tranquility, she wouldn't have survived that kind of explosion. Looking at the woman lying on the sickbed whose face could not be seen clearly, Xiaolei suddenly had a question in his heart. Who was she in front of him? He stared at Peaceful, and Peaceful looked at him. A minute passed. Who? Who are you? Peaceful managed to complete the sentence. Don't you remember me? Charlotte turned his face. I am Charlotte. Charlotte, do you remember me? Peaceful shook her head and asked, Who am I? Huh? Charlotte was shocked again. She did not even remember who she was. Who am I? Peaceful's voice was getting clearer and more coherent. She did not have the weakness of a critically ill patient. Charlotte's heart jumped. His left eye twitched. The bandages on Peaceful's body disappeared. Soon he could see her skin. The burned skin was scabbing over. The scabbing was a sign that she was about to recover. Under normal circumstances, the burns on her body would need at least 10 to 20 days to heal to the point where they would scab. She, on the other hand, had only used 20 hours. Not only were her wounds recovering quickly, but her mind was recovering quickly. This could be seen from the way she spoke. When she first woke up, she was very weak and couldn't even speak a complete sentence. However, in just a few minutes, she had recovered to a very objective state and could speak a complete sentence. Many thoughts flashed through Charlotte's head. He was not sure who the woman in front of him was. He tried to use his X-ray ability to see through her face, but her face was full of scars. He could not see her whole face. If he removed the layer of scars, he could see blood and flesh. Her skin had not recovered. After a short silence, Charlotte tried to ask, You are Peaceful. Peaceful? Who is peaceful? Her eyes looked very confused. Zhu Xianhua? Charlotte tried again. Zhu Xianhua? Who is Zhu Xianhua? Her eyes looked even more confused. Charlotte panicked. Do you remember what happened in the lab? I remember. It was black. Was it the person in the black robe? No, it was the black sky. Do you remember the bodies? 3 bodies. Gu Qian's, a blonde woman's, and a black-haired woman's. Were the 3 bodies blown up? You are so noisy. I'm going to sleep. Xiao Lei felt as if someone was strangling his throat, and he couldn't say a word. No matter how you looked at it, peaceful situation was not normal. She had experienced everything that had happened in the lab, but she could not remember anything. Footsteps came from outside the door, and then Akiko Sakino's voice came. Boss, we are ready. Angumi Khan is back. Xiao Lei looked at Peaceful. He then got up and left the room. The 6 members of the Zodiac team were in the yard outside the house. They were all carrying backpacks. They looked like they were ready to go. Angumi Khan, how is the thing I asked you to do? Charlotte asked. I took your money and went to New Delhi, Angumi Khan said. I found an officer in charge of collecting and processing information. He agreed to follow our request. When we arrive in Punjab, he will put the information you designed into their information system. Are you sure that person is reliable? Charlotte asked. Angumi Khan said. How reliable can a person be if he can be bought with $20,000? But we don't want loyalty. We just want him to do something easy. He will do it. If he does not do it, my people will make him suffer. They will make him do what he needs to do. Then there is no problem, Charlotte said. Take Peaceful. We will go to Punjab tonight. Chapter 8:21. 10 hours later, in Punjab, India, and Pakistan border area. Outside the car window was a barren landscape, barren hills, and a desert made of rocks and gravel that stretched as far as the eye could see. The tires screeched on the bumpy roadside and rolled up thick dust. In this place, not to mention people, not even a mouse could be seen. Mice also needed food and water, and this place lacked these 2 things the most. Boss, we'll be in Pakistan after crossing that mountain. Angumi Khan pointed to a mountain in front and said, It's called Bone Burying Mountain. There was a war here, and many people died here. That's how the name Bone Burying Mountain came about. Charlotte looked up and saw that this mountain was a standard stone mountain. It was full of large and small rocks and cliffs, making it very difficult to climb. Such a terrain was the most suitable for fighting a battle where the enemy outnumbered the enemy. This was also the reason why he chose this place. This was the burial place he carefully prepared for the Hattori family. Another reason why he chose this place to deal with the Hattori family was that it was on the India-Pakistan border. If they let it go, they would be in Pakistan. If the situation changed and they needed to retreat, they could just cross the mountain. Given the relationship between Pakistan and China, not to mention Charlotte, even if an ordinary Chinese man encountered difficulties, the Pakistanis would do their best to help. Ngumian, give that guy a call. Tell him to add a sentence in the information that we will cross this mountain and enter Pakistan within 4 hours, said Charlotte. Why do you want to add such a sentence? Angumi Khan obviously didn't understand Charlotte's intention. Charlotte said, I called the Prince of the Caliphate of the UAE yesterday and asked him to distribute the report of my visit in the UAE media. The Americans will definitely not miss such a report, and they will investigate the authenticity of those reports. Here, the Hattori family will definitely leak the information about me in India to the U.S. intelligence agency. In this way, the CIA would have 2 pieces of information on me. One was in the UAE, and the other was in India. No matter which one it was, the CIA would need time to investigate and analyze it. I'll only give the Hattori family 4 hours. The Hattori family will definitely come because they also need to prove to the CIB that I'm in India. Angumi Khan said, I understand. The CIB doesn't have enough time to get here. As long as the CIB doesn't participate in the battle, we can kill the Hattori family here. What if the Hattori family bribe the Indian military, and the Indian military sends special forces to participate in the war? Simus said. His brows were slightly furrowed, and he was obviously worried about this situation. If fewer people come, we can still eat them. If there are too many of them and the disparity in strength is too great, we will retreat, Charlotte said. He had already considered this point. As they chatted, the two SUVs arrived at the foot of the mountain. The road that could barely be driven was cut off, and it was impossible to continue driving. This road was originally a temporary road that India had built during the Indo-Pakistani War to transport soldiers and weapons. It had not been built into Pakistan's territory at all. Everyone got out of the car, and Angumi Khan walked to the side to call the Indian official. Charlotte carried Peaceful down with the help of a Kiko, Sakino. Perhaps it was because the sun shone on her eyes, but Peaceful woke up. She used her hands to support herself on the single-frame bed and got up. She looked at the people around her with vigilance. Finally, her eyes stopped on Charlotte. "Charlotte, where are you taking me?" Charlotte was stunned. 10 hours ago, not only did she not know who he was, but she did not even know who she was. How could she recover her memory after sitting in the car? "Charlotte, let me ask you, where are you taking me?" Peaceful's voice was filled with dissatisfaction. Charlotte came back to his senses. He moved closer to her. "Do you finally remember who I am? Even if you turn into ashes, I will still recognize you." "You." Charlotte's heart was filled with confusion. Her tone did not sound like Peaceful's at all. Ever since he had known Peaceful, she had always been a gentle and quiet woman. She had always been gentle when she spoke to him. When had she ever spoken to him with such a tone? What kind of attitude is this? Akiko Tsukino said coldly, "Why don't you know what's good for you, woman? My big brother almost lost his life to save you, and you didn't even thank him. How could you speak to him with such a tone?" "He saved me? It was more like he killed me." Peaceful's voice was still Peaceful's voice, but it gave people the feeling that it was the soul of another person. Akiko Tsukino was about to scold her, but Charlotte waved his hand. He looked at Peaceful's face, and his left eye twitched. He had awakened his X-ray vision. The gauze and scar were quickly peeled off by him, and what entered his sight was a face with new skin, and that face turned out to be the face of Princess Yongmei Zhu Xianyue. At that moment, Charlotte's head felt as if it had been struck by lightning. He could not help but think of a problem that he had not been able to understand before. He had found Princess Yongmei's body in the ancient tomb in Afghanistan's White Horse Tomorrow City. He had also found Princess Yongmei's body at the bottom of the sea in Japan. He had also found the painting that Da Vinci had painted in Mark Amin's house. The female pirate in the painting also had the face of Princess Yongmei Zhu Xianyue. So that was how she was born. Sometimes, the truth was actually around us, and we could see it at a glance, but we would always ignore it. That was the question about Princess Yongmei's body. How could a person have the same body in a different time and space? Moreover, Princess Yongmei Zhu Xianyue was just a form of pure energy. She was almost indestructible, but she did not have a body. If she wanted to have a body, she could only invade someone else's, or even use special means to shape the appearance she wanted. Now that he thought about it, the Indian woman, Salman, had given him a hint early on. She said that the bodies were the goddess's clothes. Since they were clothes, they could be cut and worn. The explosion that occurred in the laboratory was the cutting. Princess Yongmei wanted to cut a few clothes into the most fitting style that she wanted. So, what role did the black-robed man play in Zhu Xuanyue's reincarnation? Destroyer? Or something else? Only Zhu Xianyue and the black-robed man could answer this question. These thoughts flashed through Charlotte's mind. After a short silence, he said, "Is Gu Qian talking to me?" "Gu Qian?" Her eyes suddenly became blurred again. "Yes, Gu Qian. You must remember that name." Charlotte continued to test her. She held her head with both hands, and her eyes changed. Her tone changed, too. She became gentle and quiet. "I don't want to know. I don't know. Why can't I remember anything? But I have a feeling that you are the closest person to me in this world. You won't hurt me, will you?" It gave Charlotte the feeling that she had suddenly switched to peaceful mode. "Take me away from here, okay?" She grabbed Charlotte's arm and looked at Charlotte with pleading eyes. "You are peaceful?" Charlotte tried to test her again. "I don't remember, but whoever you think I am who you think I am. I will listen to you. Take me away from here, okay? I don't want to be with them." She looked at Akiko Tsukino, and her lips curled up. Akiko Tsukino said, "Boss, what happened to her? Was her brain blown up?" Charlotte said, "It must have affected her. Never mind. Let's go up the mountain first." Then he gently put Peaceful back on a stretcher and said, "Just lie down. I will take you away from here now. Okay?" "Ha ha ha." She suddenly laughed coldly. "What are you afraid of? There must be someone chasing you, right? Xiaolei, you definitely can't escape this time." "Gu Qian, is that you?" Charlotte's head was spinning. "Who is Gu Qian? I don't know why, but I hate you when I see you. If you fall and break your leg, I will be very happy," she said. Charlotte was speechless. Slap. Akiko Tsukino, who was going to move the stretcher, waved her hand and slapped the back of her head. She angrily said, "Your brain is broken, but mine is not. If you say something rude again, I will break your neck." Perhaps it was because she was hurt, but she was quiet and didn't say anything. Charlotte and Akiko Tsukino carried the stretcher up the mountain. Although he had saved Peaceful, he was not happy at all. He was even full of sadness. If this was Jing Jing's fate, then wasn't her life too tragic? She had scarcely had a few happy days. At the same time, a new question popped up in his mind. He suspected that Gu Qian's resentful soul seemed to have manifested, and Peaceful's soul also manifested. What about Zhu Xuanyue's? Wasn't she the most powerful soul? She had cut the clothes, but she couldn't wear them? Or was she sleeping in the clothes for some reason? One question after another was driving him crazy. Engumi Khan caught up with him. "Boss, it's done. He said he will immediately implant the information I gave him into India's anti-terrorist intelligence network. I believe the Hattori family will get the information in a few minutes." "Very good. They will use the satellite to search this area, and then they will find the car we abandoned. In that case, they will be even more sure that the information is true." Charlotte's face finally showed a trace of a smile. "We only gave them 4 hours. They won't be able to catch up to us from New Delhi." Engumi Khan said. Charlotte said, "If they take the helicopter, they can get here in about an hour. Plus, they need some time to prepare the helicopter and weapons. At most, they will enter our site in 2.5 hours." "What if they take the armed helicopter?" Erdemus said. Charlotte smiled. "Then we will take the helicopter." Chapter 822. The stone mountain wasn't tall, about 1,500 meters, but it was very steep and difficult to climb. It didn't look tall, but it took Charlotte and the members of the Zodiac squad 2 hours to climb from the foot of the mountain to the top. With such terrain, if the Hattori family attacked from the ground, they would need at least 2 hours to climb to the top. In the process, they would have to face the sniping of 7XL 2500 sniper rifles. So even if they had more people, they wouldn't be able to make use of their advantage in numbers. If they use helicopter gunships, we'll be in trouble. This mountain is full of rocks. When we fight with infantry, they will be our cover, but when we fight with helicopter gunships, they will be the accomplices of the machine guns. The fragments produced by the rocks in an explosion are no different from shrapnel, Alessio said. He was very experienced, but this also made him a little worried about the upcoming battle. Charlotte said, "Don't worry, I've already killed 2 U.S. helicopters. I have experience." Also, you have to think about it. A pure helicopter gunship can only carry a pilot and co-pilot. How would the Hattori family come? So even if it's a helicopter, it will most likely be a semi-military type of helicopter, at most carrying machine guns. Pure helicopter gunships were mainly used to attack armored targets on the battlefield. Dealing with infantry was secondary. Helicopters that carried people to the battlefield couldn't carry a large number of weapons and ammunition. The usual method was to install heavy machine guns on both sides of the cabin, and then let people operate them. And Charlotte had indeed killed 2 such helicopters, so he had a certain amount of experience. "I'm not worried at all fighting with you." Alessio smiled awkwardly. His analytical ability couldn't be compared to Charlotte's. "Liar," Yelena interrupted. "What are you talking about?" Alessio glared at Yelena. "Do you think I'm afraid? In every battle, I'm the one who doesn't rush to the front." "All right, stop arguing." Charlotte stopped them before they started arguing. He took out a simple map he had drawn, spread it out on a rock, and began to arrange. "Alessio, you go to this point. Yelena, you go to this point. Erdemo, you go to this point. Siamo, you go to this point. Engumi-kan, you go to this point. There were 6 circles drawn on the simple map. These 6 circles circled around the entire peak of the mountain. Some were high, while others were low. This was a very smart arrangement. If the Hattori family came in a helicopter, the helicopter would fly over the top of the mountain, and they would be attacked in every direction. An XL-2500 sniper rifle with armor-piercing bullets could easily take out a helicopter's pilot or fuel tank. What about me? Akiko Tsukino looked at Charlotte. You will stay here with me. You will fight with me and protect her. Xiao Lei pointed at Peaceful, who was lying on a stretcher. You, stay here with me. Fight with me and protect her. Charlotte pointed at Peaceful, who was lying on the stretcher. Her face was no longer a serene face. Even her consciousness contained Gu Qian's remnant thoughts, or rather, his existence. Her face was no longer Peaceful's face. Even her consciousness had Gu Qian's lingering thoughts. Okay. Akiko Tsukino nodded. The other 5 moved quickly, heading to the sniping spots that Charlotte had arranged for them. Charlotte and Akiko Tsukino began to organize their guns and ammunition, preparing for the battle. Aside from 2 XL-2500 sniper rifles, 2 Gale assault rifles, and a Viper pistol, the 2 of them also had a Hellhound cannon. The Hellhound cannon was the only heavy weapon that Engumi-kan and the others had brought from China. Soon, the communication from the other 5 came through the communicator. They were in position. All that was left was to wait for the prey to fall into the trap. Boss, have you ever thought of another situation? After adjusting the XL-2500 sniper rifle in her hand, Akiko Tsukino said this. Charlotte glanced at her. What situation are you referring to? The 2 Hattori family people you mentioned, Hattori Tsukihito and my Hattori, seem to be very timid people. If your analysis is correct, the CIB will need more time to gather enough people here. Will they not dare to come because they are afraid of you? Akiko Tsukino said. Charlotte looked at the watch on his wrist. The Hattori family will definitely come, and they're probably on their way. Are you sure? I am sure. Charlotte looked in the direction of New Delhi. Every time I go abroad, it is an opportunity for the CIB and the FA organization to capture or kill me. Once I return, they will lose their chance. Do you think they will be willing to give up such a rare opportunity? No, Akiko Tsukino said. At this time, Serenity's voice came from the crater of a shell behind them. I am itchy, so itchy. Where's she? I don't want to stay here. Akiko Tsukino looked back and frowned. She is really troublesome. Let me knock her out, or else she will bring trouble during the battle. Leave it to me, Charlotte said. He took a few steps back and then jumped into the crater. Back then, the Indian and Pakistani armies fought here, leaving many craters. This crater now became Serenity's temporary hiding place. Its internal space could barely accommodate the stretcher. When Charlotte jumped in, it suddenly became crowded. You are here. Don't leave me, okay? She looked at Charlotte eagerly, one hand trying to reach behind her waist to scratch an itch. Charlotte squatted beside her and grabbed her hand. Don't scratch. The itch is a sign of the wound healing. Just bear with it. If you scratch, the wound will get infected. I won't. I just want to scratch. It's so itchy. She looked very naughty. Be good. Charlotte put on a serious face and pretended to be angry. But his heart was sad. Although she was in this serenity mode, she was still in the state after she went crazy. Her mind was definitely no more than 10 years old. Your name is Charlotte, right? Yes, I am Charlotte. Do you remember me? No, but I feel that you are very kind, like my family. She bent her neck and looked at Charlotte. She tentatively said, Can I call you Uncle Xia? Charlotte, Uncle Xia, can you help me scratch? I really feel uncomfortable. She begged. Okay, I will scratch, but after that, you have to be obedient and stay here. Don't move, okay? Charlotte said. Okay, I will listen to you. She looked very obedient. Charlotte reached behind her waist and found that she had untied the gauze there. New skin could be clearly seen on the exposed skin, white and tender. There were still some scars, but they would probably fall off soon. Then, he saw a small Y-shaped cleavage behind her. This made him very embarrassed. He used his hand to scratch her red area a few times. Better? Lower, a little lower, she said. Charlotte's hand moved a little lower and scratched a few more times. A little lower. Hurry, it's so itchy. She simply turned her body to make it easier for Charlotte's hand to move. However, Xiaolei was stunned. He had already scratched her tailbone. If he went any lower, was that a place where a man like him could scratch? Uncle Xia, hurry up, please, it's so itchy. She moved around on the stretcher, acting coquettishly and mischievously. This Uncle Xia made Charlotte lose his temper. He sighed and braced himself to move his hand down. His heart was in a mess when he felt the soft and creamy skin. He looked at her, but his heart was thinking about the peace in the past. That ill-fated girl, she did not have a few happy days in her life. Perhaps it was a good thing that she had become like this now, right? If she returned to her previous life, she would not be happy. You're so nice, Uncle Xia. A little lower, okay? Her voice was sweet, full of coquettishness. A little lower? Several black lines hung on Charlotte's forehead. Did she not know that there were some places on a woman that men should not touch? Or did she not even have a woman's sense of shame now? Furthermore, he was already at the bottom. It's so strange. The more you scratch, the more itchy I get. Why is that? Charlotte, little wimps would always have this and that kind of strange questions, but wasn't she, this little wimp, a little too mature? Furthermore, this question of hers was like a grenade that could explode a person to a crisp. Boss, there's a situation. Akiko Tsukino's voice was filled with anxiety. Charlotte hurriedly withdrew his hand from her gauze. She grabbed onto Charlotte's hand. Uncle Xia, don't leave me, I'm scared. Be obedient. Now is not the time to mess around. Charlotte was really angry. Her tone suddenly changed again, becoming cold, and with a hint of ridicule. Is someone trying to kill you? Are you going to die? How did it suddenly become Gu Qian? Remember to call me when you get shot. I want to see you bleeding, she said. As soon as her voice fell, Xiaolei suddenly chopped her carotid artery with his palm. She finally shut her mouth and laid on the stretcher softly. The loose gauze revealed a soft and slender waist, as well as half of her snow-white breasts. Charlotte let out a long sigh, then climbed up the crater. He could not imagine how he would face this woman in the future. She had Zhu Xuanyue's appearance, which was almost perfect, just like a fairy in the ancient fairy tales, but she also had the characteristics of tranquility and Gu Qian. A woman's body fused with the souls of 3 women, and currently, she could switch between the 2 modes at any time. In the future, with the addition of Zhu Xuanyue, it would be impossible for his head not to change. And that kind of scene, just thinking about it, gave him a headache. Returning to the back of the bunker, 4 helicopters appeared in his field of vision. Charlotte's mood suddenly became heavy. Flying at the front was India's latest LCH armed helicopter, which was a standard armed helicopter, equipped with rocket launching pods, machine guns, and anti-ground missiles. Behind the LCH armed helicopter were 2 ordinary helicopters, with heavy machine guns mounted on both sides of the cabin. Finally, there was a large Chinook transport plane. Chapter 823. The 4 helicopters were getting closer and closer. When they were 2 kilometers away, Charlotte saw the logo on the body of the first LCH helicopter. It was the logo of the 62nd Air Force Commando, an elite anti-terrorist force in India. Then he saw the armed personnel sitting in the cabin. The first armed helicopter had 2 Commando Special Forces pilots sitting in it. The armed personnel and the 2 helicopters behind wore black combat suits without any logo. From their appearance and body characteristics, it was not difficult to tell that they were Japanese. Obviously, the people in the 2 helicopters in the middle were from the Abdomen family. The hatch of the last Chinook transport plane was closed. Only the pilot could be seen, but the pilot was also wearing the combat suit of the 62nd Air Force Commando. It's the Indian anti-terrorist force. Charlotte grabbed the communicator and whispered, "Damn it," Engumi Khan cursed. Usually they are slow to react, but today they are so fast. They must have been paid to be mercenaries. India is hopeless. Calm down. Now is not the time to complain about the Indian government. Charlotte's tone was heavy. Everyone, hide well. Don't shoot easily. The first thing we have to kill is the helicopter. It is the biggest threat to us. Roger. The other 5 members of the Zodiac squad replied at the same time. As soon as Charlotte finished the arrangement, the LCH helicopter flew to a place 500 meters away. The pilot was very smart. He did not approach it. This was obviously a motive to lure and test. Once someone shot at the helicopter, it would undoubtedly poke a hornet's nest. The rocket launchers and cannons on the LCH assault helicopters would set off a bloodbath. With its firepower, it could not blow up the whole mountain, but it would have no problem killing the people hiding on the mountain. Don't move, don't move, Charlotte whispered to his people. They're luring us. Don't shoot. It's parked there. Just in time to shoot, boss. Alessio said. Don't shoot. The wind of the propeller will affect your trajectory. Moreover, the cockpit glass is much stronger than ordinary bulletproof glass. It is difficult to kill the pilot with one shot. We only have one chance, Charlotte said. Although he told his people to calm down and not be nervous, he could not help but be nervous. His palms were also sweaty. After all, the other party was India's anti-terrorist force, the most elite special forces, and they were also operating armed helicopters with huge firepower. In such a battle, a little carelessness or a mistake would lead to death. The armed helicopter hovered in the air, and the 3 helicopters behind it also hovered in the air. This was a psychological attack. The opponent wanted to use this method to put pressure on Charlotte and the members of the Zodiac squad. There was a limit to how much pressure a person could endure. Once that limit was exceeded, a person's spirit would collapse. Those deserters on the battlefield were in such a situation. Deserters who could not withstand the pressure would often expose their backs to the enemy. 2 minutes passed. For Charlotte and the other members of the Zodiac squad, these 2 minutes felt longer than 2 days. Every second was a huge pressure on them to survive. Every second was torturous. But this was war, a gamble with life on the line. On the Chinook, why isn't the armed helicopter in front moving yet? Mai Hattori asked the commander of the anti-terrorist special forces in a questioning tone. Miss Balier, don't worry. Don't you think everything is under our control? The commander of the anti-terrorist special forces said, This is a pressure tactic. We've dealt with many terrorists, and almost no one can withstand this kind of pressure. Once the person you're dealing with and his men can't withstand this pressure, as long as they fire a shot at us, we can determine their position and blow them into pieces. And if they run away, it's even easier. We only need a few minutes to finish the battle. That's if the target hasn't left the mountain. I'm worried that they will escape into Pakistan. I think you should fly around the mountain and see the situation behind it. Mai Hattori said, Let's wait for 2 more minutes. If there's still no response in 2 minutes, I'll do as you say. The commander of the anti-terrorist special forces said, Don't you have heat detectors on your armed helicopters? Hattori Tsukihito, who was also on the Chinook, asked, Of course we do, but we have to get very close. Also, those machines are best used at night. They don't work at all during the day. The commander of the anti-terrorist special forces said. Hattori Tsukihito didn't say anything, but from his expression, it was obvious that he wasn't satisfied with the commander of the anti-terrorist special forces' method and explanation. Mai Hattori anxiously looked at the watch on her wrist and waited for the 2 minutes to pass. Soon, another 2 minutes passed. Time's up. Let the armed helicopter fly over the mountain to take a look. Mai Hattori urged. Miss Balier, why are you in such a hurry? The commander of the anti-terrorist special forces didn't immediately give the order. Mai Hattori said, You don't know how cunning the person we're dealing with is. Did you know that not long ago, he killed 50 of your Mountain Division soldiers by himself? He killed 50 Mountain Division soldiers by himself? The Indian commander sneered. Miss Bali, are you joking with me? I'm not joking with you. Let me tell you, this is the India-Pakistan border. Mai Hattori said, The appearance of your 4 helicopters here, once they're discovered by Pakistan's radar, their fighter jets and ground forces will quickly respond. The Pakistanis definitely don't want us to hurt this guy. At that time, we won't have a chance. Do you understand? Also, don't forget how much money we've paid for this operation. All right. The commander of the anti-terrorist special forces finally gave the order. He picked up the communicator. Falcon, begin the operation. The LCH helicopter, hovering at the front, finally moved. It flew towards the top of Maigu Mountain. On the top of the mountain, Akiko Tsukino, who was hiding a pile of rocks, said nervously, "It's coming. I see it. Steady, don't shoot. We have to wait for the best opportunity," Charlotte said. However, at this time, the armed helicopter suddenly fired several rockets at the top of the mountain. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Amidst the violent explosion, pieces of rocks were blown into pieces, and thick smoke rose and spread in the air. "Steady, steady. This is their last test." Charlotte continued to tell his men to stay calm. However, his back was also covered in cold sweat. Although the other side fired rockets randomly, if they guessed the right direction, he and the members of the Zodiac squad would be in danger. Fortunately, the top of the mountain was so big, it wasn't easy to blow up the hiding spot. Of course, apart from probability, luck also played a big role. At least for now, luck was still on their side. After firing a few rockets, the armed helicopter suddenly lowered its nose. While flying, it fired at the two off-road vehicles parked at the foot of the mountain. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A series of machine gun shells whistled through the air. In the blink of an eye, the two off-road vehicles parked at the foot of the mountain were blown up. Then, they disintegrated and turned into flames. Hit! The pilot of the LCH helicopter couldn't help but laugh. He seemed very excited. After blowing up the two off-road vehicles, he adjusted the nose of the helicopter and flew in a straight line to the top of the mountain. He didn't realize that the LCH helicopter he was piloting was almost at the same height as the top of the mountain. "Now, fire!" Charlotte suddenly ordered. Almost at the same time, 7 sniper rifle armor-piercing bullets flew straight into the cockpit of the armed helicopter. At that moment, the bulletproof glass of the cockpit of the armed helicopter was shattered. The pilot behind it was killed on the spot. If this process was replayed in slow motion, it would be that 4 sniper rifle bullets broke the cockpit glass, and the remaining 3 pierced the body of the pilot. Because the position of the sniper was different, the time it took for the bullets to hit the target was also different. The first 4 bullets broke the bulletproof glass, and the last 3 killed the enemy. All of this was not a coincidence, but a precise calculation. The armed helicopter that had lost its pilot flew over the top of the mountain and fell to the ground behind it. The co-pilot in the co-pilot's seat hurriedly unbuckled his seatbelt, but just as he was about to reach out and pull the armed helicopter up, the ground suddenly enlarged in his vision. Boom! Flames rose into the sky, and the fuel tank and ammunition exploded. The loud explosion could probably be heard from 10 miles away. Kill them. The commander of the anti-terrorist special forces in the Chinook helicopter seemed to have entered a berserk mode. The rear hatch of the Chinook helicopter opened, and the anti-terrorist special forces in the cabin were also ready to rope down. At the same time, Hattori Tsukihito grabbed a communicator and shouted, "Fire, fire, and kill them." The 2 helicopters hovering in the air suddenly separated and flew toward the top of the mountain from the left and right sides at the same time. When the fuselage of the helicopters was horizontal, the 2 heavy machine guns looked at the top of the mountain and madly poured their ammunition. Machine gun bullets fell one after another, hitting the rocks on the top of the mountain like a storm. However, they weren't machine guns. They could easily tear through walls and trees, but they couldn't tear through huge rocks one after another. Their opponents were all hiding behind huge and hard rocks, as if they were hiding behind solid fortifications during World War II. They couldn't be killed at all. Bang! When one of the helicopters went around the top of the mountain, Charlotte suddenly raised his gun. Almost a second later, the pilot of the helicopter was lying prone on the cockpit. Boom! One of the helicopters carrying the armed personnel of the Hattori family also fell. The remaining helicopter was like a bird that was frightened by the mere twang of a bow. It quickly lowered its body height and retreated to the side. It only stopped when it was 4,000 meters away from the helicopter. Then, it crazily fired at the top of the mountain. The range of the heavy machine gun was far longer than the range of the sniper rifle, but there was no accuracy to speak of at such a distance. It could only use this method to suppress the people on the top of the mountain and buy time for the Chinook transport helicopter to land. The Chinook helicopter rushed to the bottom of the mountain. Ropes were hung down, and the anti-terrorist special forces, who were armed to the teeth, jumped out of the cabin one after another. Charlotte, who was carrying the hellhound cannon, said to his subordinates, "Steady, steady, don't shoot first. Wait for them to get closer." Chapter 824. Under the cover of the heavy machine gun, the Chinook helicopter made a tactical landing. The special forces who had already landed from the rope fired in the direction of the hilltop to suppress the fire. The sound of gunfire was loud, and the bullets were like rain. The scene was like a Hollywood shootout. In such a hail of bullets, Charlotte suddenly stood up from behind the bunker. Then, the hellhound cannon on his shoulder roared, and a shell whistled toward the hovering Chinook helicopter. Boom! The shell hit the propeller on the nose of the Chinook helicopter. Flames rose to the sky, and the nose of the Chinook helicopter was instantly torn apart and smashed. The rest of the fuselage crashed to the ground and rolled 2 times before coming to a stop. No one thought that Charlotte would have such a heavy weapon in his hands. If they had known in advance, even if the pilot of the Chinook was given 100 guts, he would not have dared to land within the attack range of the hellhound cannon. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. After a successful shot, Charlotte retreated. Almost at that moment, a few bullets flew past his head. "Well done." Akiko Tsukino could not help but cheer and even patted Charlotte on the shoulder. Using a cannon to hit a helicopter was almost impossible in the military world. However, it also depended on what kind of cannon it was. If it was the hellhound cannon of the Rema group, it could be done in a specific environment, such as this one. Be careful. These people are not ordinary characters. They are the most elite anti-terrorist special forces in India. Charlotte did not relax. Just as he spoke, he had completed the second reloading of the hellhound cannon. Now, there was only one helicopter left, but the helicopter did not dare to approach the hilltop at all. The machine gunners on the side of the cabin operated the heavy machine gun and madly poured ammunition on the hilltop. They were so ferocious that they wanted to use the machine gun in their hands to raise the entire hilltop to the ground. However, this was simply wishful thinking. The pilot did not dare to fly into the firing range of the XL 2500 sniper rifle, and even more so, he did not dare to fly into the firing range of the hellhound's cannon. But he maintained a distance of 4,000 meters, and the accuracy of the heavy machine gun on the helicopter was almost zero. However, this kind of blind shooting also brought trouble to Charlotte and the members of the Zodiac squad. Bullets whizzed past their heads and around them. Who could guarantee that they wouldn't be hit by a stray bullet? Luck was something that could be said to be good or bad. If one's luck was bad at this time, it would be a matter of life and death. Under such suppressive firepower, the anti-terrorism special forces who had completed the rope landing had already gained a firm foothold and set up a battle line. With their help, the people in the Kurinigan helicopter took the opportunity to escape. But to them, the battle that lasted for a few minutes was like a nightmare. Damn it! The commander of the anti-terrorism special forces who crawled out of the cabin was going crazy. Who gave us this information? This is a trap. At this time, they did not even have time to save their own lives. Who would have the time to answer his question? My Hattori crawled out of the cabin and lay on the ground. She was the only one who was not wearing a combat uniform or carrying a weapon. She was wearing a sexy black leather short skirt, black stockings, and red high heels. She did not give off the impression that she was here to fight, but rather a noble lady who came to watch a shooting movie. But little did she know that she was not watching a 2D movie, but a 3D movie. When the LCH helicopter was shot down, she was not nervous at all. It was not until the Chinook transport plane that she was on was destroyed by Charlotte and fell to the ground that she realized that things had gone out of her control. She also realized that she was not the one who was chasing after Charlotte, but Charlotte was the one who had set up an ambush to kill the Hattori family. The commander of the Indian Anti-Terrorism Special Forces suddenly rushed to my Hattori's side, grabbed her hair, and pressed a pistol against my Hattori's head. "Tell me, what's going on?" On one hand, there was a death threat, and on the other hand, there was the Indian commander who had lost control. Under the double pressure, my Hattori's face suddenly turned pale, and she could not even speak straight. "Tell me what the hell is going on." The Indian Anti-Terrorism Special Forces commander roared. "We have suffered such heavy losses. How do you expect me to explain this to the higher-ups?" An LCH helicopter, a Chinook transport plane imported from the United States, and an ordinary helicopter. Such a loss was indeed impossible to explain to the military, especially when it involved the corruption of the Indian military. "Let her go." A cold voice came from behind. Before the Indian Anti-Terrorism Special Forces commander could turn around to look, a gun was pressed against the back of his head. A few of the Anti-Terrorism Special Forces nearby also pointed their guns at Hattori Tsukihito, who was pointing a gun at their commander. Someone even yelled at Hattori Tsukihito, "Be ****. Do you want to die? Put the gun down." There was no fear on Hattori's face. He raised the communicator in his hand to his mouth. "My people are still on that helicopter. As long as I give the order, they will shoot at you. Being attacked from both front and back, none of you will survive." The few anti-terrorism special forces were also nervous. The Hattori family was still on the helicopter, operating the 2 heavy machine guns. If those people shot at them from behind, they would really die here. "Wait!" The Indian Anti-Terrorism Special Forces commander moved the pistol against my Hattori's head. "Don't be impulsive. We are not enemies." My Hattori then came to her senses. "The one who shouldn't be impulsive is you. The one who collected the money is your superior, and the one who should explain to the Indian military is also your superior, not you. This operation was provided by your Indian intelligence system. This operation is also a counterterrorism operation, a failed counterterrorism operation. Do you understand?" My Hattori's words seemed to wake the Indian Anti-Terrorism Special Forces commander up. His eyes also shifted from my Hattori to the direction of the mountaintop. Also, the person on the mountaintop is a big shot that both the United States and India want to get rid of. If you and your people can capture him, or even kill him, not only will the Indian military not hold you responsible, but they will also give you a generous reward. My Hattori seemed to have completely recovered. Her weapons were not guns, but her mind and her mouth. "Mr. Abdomen, let your people support us from the air. I want to kill those guys," the Indian Anti-Terrorism Special Forces commander said. "No problem." Hattori Tsukihito spoke to the communicator in Japanese. "Fly higher, maintain suppressive fire, and cooperate with the ground attack." "Roger." A Japanese reply came from the communicator. Also, Hattori Tsukihito lowered his voice. "Be smart. You're controlling the last helicopter, so we have to leave a way out." "Understood." The reply came from the communicator. The helicopter hovering in the sky suddenly rose in altitude and approached the top of the mountain while maintaining the same distance. The 2 heavy machine guns on both sides of the cabin fired at the mountaintop. The bullets from the 2 heavy machine guns were like red-hot molten iron pouring toward the mountaintop. "Charge! Kill them!" The commander of the Indian Special Forces gave the order. The anti-terrorism special forces hiding behind the rock bunker moved quickly. With the help of the terrain, they crouched and charged upward. As they advanced, they blindly fired upward. The people on the mountaintop seemed to have drilled into the soil, and there was no response. When the Indian Anti-Terrorism Special Forces launched their charge, Hattori Tsukihito gave my Hattori a look. My Hattori took off her high heels and ran down the mountain. "What's she doing?" The Indian Anti-Terrorism Special Forces commander glared at my Hattori's back and subconsciously raised his gun. Hattori Tsukihito stood in front of the commander. "She is a woman, and she doesn't even have a weapon. Do you still expect a woman from the Hattori family to fight? She can choose not to go, but you have to come with us," the commander said fiercely. "Oof. I came here to kill him." Hattori Tsukihito put away his gun and took a TR 21 assault rifle made by Israel's IMI company from his shoulder. He pulled the bolt and rushed up the mountaintop. The battle continued, but it was carried out in a way that the attackers were absolutely unwilling to. The people on a mountaintop didn't shoot, but if they had the chance, they would definitely kill an anti-terrorism special forces soldier. Those people were not terrorists at all, but top-notch hunters. Just as the battle raged on like a raging inferno, my Hattori stumbled down the mountain. The rocks cut the soles of her feet and tore her skirt and clothes, revealing a large area of her snow-white back and a red bikini. But at this time, she could no longer feel pain or shame. There was only one thought in her mind, and that was to escape and survive. The Hattori family and the Indian anti-terrorism special forces were still attacking, but she had already given up. Back then, on the snow-capped mountain in Tawang, Chinashi province, nearly 100 elites from the United States, India, and Japan went after Charlotte and a female agent for 101 innings, but the operation unexpectedly failed. Compared to the previous battle, Charlotte had the advantage of terrain, and he had more helpers. How could she still be optimistic about the ongoing attack? Hattori Tsukihito was also in the attacking team. She was very clear about this, but she didn't care at all. Boom! Suddenly, there was an explosion behind her. My Hattori, who was running, looked back in panic. She saw several Indian anti-terrorism special forces blown up by the explosion. A person's head drew a bloody parabola in the air and fell on a rock in front of her with a thud. The head had already been shattered when the explosion occurred, and the fall made it even more so. Brain juice, blood, and bones splattered all over her legs. Wah! My Hattori vomited as soon as she opened her mouth. She couldn't even cover it up. Bang, bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang. Charlotte's people suddenly began to fight back frantically. 6-gauge assault rifles were like crazy beasts, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws at the attackers. With an extremely fast rate of fire, a range comparable to a sniper rifle, and almost zero recoil, the power and performance of the Gale assault rifles produced by Rema Group far surpassed the rifles of the Indian anti-terrorism special forces. This counterattack collapsed the offensive of the Indian anti-terrorism special forces in the blink of an eye, and there were several corpses on the ground. Whoosh! A shell suddenly flew from the ground to the helicopter hovering in the sky. Chapter 825. No! My Hattori screamed as she held her head in her hands. The helicopter was her only hope of escaping. If it was also shot down, she would lose even her last hope. What would happen to her if she fell into Charlotte's hands? She didn't want to think about it, and she didn't need to. But just as the shell hit the helicopter, a bullet from a machine gun collided with it. With a loud boom, the shell exploded below the helicopter. The shockwave of the explosion shook the helicopter, but it didn't fall. The pilot, who was frightened, didn't dare to stay there for another second. He pulled the control stick and retreated. My Hattori suddenly remembered something. She took out her communicator from the pocket of her jacket and screamed into it. "Help me! Help me!" She screamed for help as she scrambled down the mountain. The battle on the mountain was still going on, but it was nearing its end. Charlotte and the Chinese Zodiac battle team members were scattered at 6 sniper points. The charging Indian anti-terror special forces were being attacked by XL 2500 sniper rifles and Gust assault rifles from different directions. Without the support of the helicopter, they had become moving targets. In just a few minutes, there were more than 10 corpses on the path to the mountaintop. Why did the helicopter fly away? The Indian anti-terrorist special forces commander roared at Hattori Jeppa. "Call it back immediately. Now!" Hattori Jeppa crouched behind a rock and asked into the communicator, "Why did you retreat? Come back and continue to support the Indian attack." "Miss Mai told us to retreat." A Japanese voice came from the communicator. "It's that bitch. Idiot." Hattori Jeppa roared. "She's not in danger. Come back immediately and support the battle on the mountaintop." "I'm sorry. Miss Mai said not to listen to you." From the communicator, the helicopter flew towards a blind spot at the foot of the mountain. Hattori Jeppa's eyes were terrifyingly cold. He gritted his teeth. "I'm going to kill her." The Indian Anti-Terrorist Special Forces commander suddenly pointed his gun at Hattori Jeppa's head. "I'll give you 3 seconds to call the helicopter back, or I'll kill you. I was also betrayed by that bitch," Hattori Jeppa said angrily. "I don't care. Get the helicopter back immediately." Hattori Jeppa suddenly tilted his head. Just as the Indian SWAT commander was about to aim his gun at Hattori Jeppa's head, he suddenly stopped. He looked down at his chest and then fell to the ground. There was a military knife in his chest. No one had discovered what had happened here. Hattori Jeppa glanced in the direction of the mountaintop. He suddenly stood up and dashed down the mountain. But at that moment, a bullet flew from behind and pierced his tailbone. He suddenly lost control of his legs. After falling to the ground, he slid forward a few meters and only stopped when his head hit a rock. That hit also knocked him out. "You want to run? You won't be as lucky as last time." A cold smile appeared in the corners of Xia Lei's mouth. The Gust assault rifle in his hand was still smoking, and the barrel was hot. A few minutes later, the surviving Indian SWAT soldiers stopped firing. One of the SWAT leaders raised his rifle from behind a rock. There was a white cloth tied to the barrel. He didn't know if it was torn off from his shirt or somewhere else. After the leader took the lead, the rest of the SWAT members did the same. They stood out from behind the rock with their guns raised high. They had already given up the fight. These guys, they actually surrendered. "Boss, what should we do?" Alessio asked. Charlotte was silent for a moment, then said into the communicator, "What do you guys think?" As soon as he finished speaking, Akiko Tsukino pulled the trigger. One of the Indian SWAT members fell to the ground with his rifle raised high. Almost at the same time, the rest of the Chinese Zodiac battle team also fired. In the blink of an eye, the remaining Indian SWAT members fell to the ground. Charlotte said in surprise, "I just wanted you guys to discuss." "Why did you guys?" Akiko Tsukino said, "The Chinese Zodiac battle team never accepts surrender, let alone keep prisoners." Charlotte was speechless. He actually wanted to kill these Indian SWAT members. In such an incident, it was troublesome to leave them alive. However, his conscience made him hesitate. The Chinese Zodiac battle team members did not have such concerns and did the dirty work for him. It's a pity that one escaped. "There's also the Hattori family's samurai," my Hattori said. Charlotte stood up from behind the rock and looked at the place where the helicopter had landed. However, that place was a blind spot. Even his left, I could not see through part of the mountain to see what was happening there. He said, "The ones who came this time should not be the Hattori family samurai. At least, they're not elites like the ones I encountered last time. The ones who came today are obviously not on the same level." This was a good thing, because it proved that he had weakened the Hattori family's power. I think they will be more obedient after this. I'll go and see if there are any survivors. Akiko Tsukino also walked out of the rock and walked down the hill with her Gust assault rifle. The other members of the Chinese Zodiac battle team also walked out of their respective rock and walked down the hill. They were all injured, but they were not gunshot wounds. Instead, they were stabbed by rock fragments. Alessio's arm, Yelena's forehead, Erdima's leg, Akiko Tsukino's butt, Saimu's chest, and Angumi Khan's face. All of them were injured. Charlotte was no exception. There were several rock fragments on his thighs and back, and his back was wet with blood. Charlotte returned to the crater and took a look. Ning Jing was still lying on the stretcher. She was not injured, but her body was splattered with mud and rock fragments. He breathed a sigh of relief and walked down the hill. Gunshots from Ling Xing sounded on the hill. The Chinese Zodiac battle team members only needed to shoot at the Indian Special Forces soldiers who could still move. In their world, there was no mercy. Charlotte came to Hattori Jeppa's side. From the moment Hattori Jeppa got off the plane, he had been his target. If Hattori Jeppa did not escape, it would have taken him more effort to kill him. But Hattori Jeppa had escaped. Running away from a battlefield was equivalent to betraying one's back to the enemy. It was not that Hattori Jeppa was a rookie and did not understand this principle, but he had lost a fear. The battle on Dewang Snow Mountain had made him lose his confidence and courage. Hattori Jeppa was lying on the ground, blood flowing out of his spine, wetting half of his body. Charlotte kicked away the TR-21 assault rifle beside him, then used his foot to turn him over one by one. Hattori Jeppa did not wake up. With a hit on the head and the gunshot wound on his tailbone, he was actually half dead. Charlotte squatted down and pressed his hand on Hattori Jeppa's philtrum point. But at this moment, a helicopter took off from the blind spot at the foot of the hill and quickly escaped. That woman escaped, Akiko Tsukino said. She is so cruel. She even betrayed her brother. Charlotte said lightly. Isn't this in line with her interests? Hattori Jeppa is dead, and she will inherit the Hattori family business sooner or later. She's actually the biggest winner of this battle. Cough, cough. Hattori Jeppa suddenly woke up. An unfamiliar face entered his line of sight, but he knew that this unfamiliar face was Xiaolei. He instinctively reached for the gun, but all he could grab was a rock. He tried to grab it, but the rock was mostly buried in the ground, and he could not grab it. If he could grab it, he would definitely use it to smash Charlotte's head. Akiko Tsukino stepped on Hattori Jeppa's hand and slowly turned her foot. Hattori Jeppa gritted his teeth and did not make a sound. Charlotte said, "You guys tend to your wounds. Leave him to me." Akiko Tsukino let go of her foot. The other members of the Chinese Zodiac battle team climbed up the hill, teasing each other on the way. "Yelena, your face is disfigured. Who will marry you in the future? Go away, you Indian monkey. You better take off your pants and check. Your penis is small to begin with, and if a part of it is blown off, I am afraid we will need a magnifying glass to see it. Akiko, do you want me to help you with the wound on your butt? Sure, come here. Why are you holding a knife? I was just joking with you." The hillside was filled with laughter. A smile appeared on Xiaolei's face. He pulled out his military knife and placed it on Hattori Jeppa's neck. He spoke in Japanese. "You've killed a few Bureau 101 brothers in Dwayne. Today, I'll give them an explanation. You don't have a problem with that, do you? Idiot," Hattori Jeppa said angrily. "If you want to kill me, just kill me. Do you know that your sister sold you off? Don't mention the B*TCH in front of me. Do you hate her?" Charlotte's lips curled into a smile. "I think she's not bad. Her skin, TSK, it is great. She's also very good in bed and very good at taking care of men. F*CK. Do it." Hattori Jeppa could not take such humiliation. "I can give you a quick death, but you have to answer one question," Charlotte said. "What is the relationship between your sister, my Hattori, and the CIA?" "Oomph." Hattori Jeppa spat a mouthful of blood on Charlotte's face. Charlotte wiped the blood off his face. "Or is she part of the Japanese Secret Service? Why do you ask such a strange question?" Charlotte said. "She is the assistant of Ms. Folsom at Lockheed Martin Corporation. This is a very normal position, but she has done too many abnormal things. In France, she did not hesitate to sleep with me to get information from me. Then she set a trap for me. Now she has come to India to instigate this operation. Tell me, can I still see her as a normal person?" Hattori Jeppa's eyes flashed. Charlotte said, "She betrayed you. It is obvious that she wants to inherit the Hattori family business. Do you still want to protect her interests? She is part of the Hattori family. Even if she betrayed me, I will not betray the Hattori family. Go to hell, China pig." Hattori Jeppa opened his mouth and was about to spit at Charlotte again. But at that moment, Charlotte's military knife suddenly plunged into his mouth. It pierced his tongue and went into his throat. "You should reincarnate as a fish in your next life. Fish love to spit." Xiaolei twisted his wrist and slowly pulled out his military knife. Blood kept flowing out of Hattori Jeppa's mouth. He opened his mouth and tried to breathe, but it was not enough. After a few seconds, his mouth stopped moving. Charlotte turned and left, not even bothering to look at him. Chapter 826. The war that took place in the bone-burying mountain on the India-Pakistan border was an illegal war. The Indian military was simply unwilling to acknowledge its existence. Although the CIA knew of its existence, it was only limited to the top-secret files. Not a single media outlet in the world reported on this small-scale war. One day later, Pakistan, Peshawar. The distribution market was crowded with people. It seemed that there were more people than goods. Bullshit. A girl with a childish face and big breasts suddenly cursed, and then raised a cheap mobile phone high in her hand. But she didn't throw it down in the end. Instead, she cursed again. Damn, what a broken mobile phone. My man didn't give me the wrong phone number, right? Why can't I get through? I've already changed several mobile phones. Chief Sierami, how about I take a few sisters to kidnap that guy who sells mobile phones? A middle-aged woman approached the girl with a childish face and big breasts. Her expression was ferocious, as if she wanted to kill someone. Who would dare to deceive the chief of the White Hun tribe? Wasn't this courting death? You have big breasts and no brains. Sierami glared at her subordinates. This is Pakistan, not Afghanistan. Kidnapping requires legal responsibility. Do you understand the law? Then she cursed again, big breasts and no brains. The middle-aged woman stared at Sierami's towering big breasts and said with a mischievous smile, Chief, your breasts are bigger than mine. You should curse something else. I'm ashamed to hear you scold me like that. Shalami slapped the middle-aged woman, but the middle-aged woman dodged it. Several White Hun women burst into laughter. As the woman with the biggest breasts in the White Hun tribe, she used the phrase big breasts and no brains as her catchphrase. Wasn't this scolding herself? This was really the best joke of the year for the entire tribe. Don't laugh. Be serious, Shalami said fiercely. Have you guys sold all the goods? Hand over all the money. Several women came over and gave the money they earned from selling goods to Sierami. One of the honest old women handed a thick wad of US dollars to Sierami. How come there are so many? Sierami asked in surprise. I don't know, Chief. I sold the white powder we stole to an American, and he gave me so much money without saying anything. The honest woman scratched her messy hair and said, I think he's stupid. I think you're stupid. That bag of stuff is drugs. You obviously sold it cheap, a woman said. Drugs? We're drugs. It looks like flour to me, said the honest woman. The women of the White Hun tribe. Sierami put away the money. Let's go. I'll show you around. What do you want? I'll buy it for you. I want 10 pairs of underwear, all red. I want 10 bras, the best ones. Do I need 20 packs of sanitary pads? Can you buy me one of those? It can be recharged. Why don't you go to hell, slut? Chief, your man hasn't been back for so long. You should buy one too. Haha. Amidst the laughter, Sierami pursed her small mouth and her eyes were full of sadness. She was originally a happy girl and didn't know what sadness was. But after Charlotte left her, she learned to be sad. Every night, she would climb to the roof of her house and look in the direction of China, thinking about her man. This damn cell phone is also bullying me. Why can't I get through? The more she thought, the angrier she got. Sierami suddenly lost control of her emotions. She raised the cell phone and threw it to the ground. Chief, that's a new cell phone. If you don't want it, you can give it to me. A woman hurriedly picked up the broken cell phone. But just as the woman was about to pick up the cell phone, another hand picked it up first. The White Hun woman was about to get angry, but she heard a man's voice. Your temper is still so bad. Big breasts, but no brains. Don't you know how to find a cell phone seller to open an international call for you? If you don't open an international call, how do you make a call? This voice was very familiar. The woman looked up and saw an unfamiliar face. She suddenly felt strange. The voice was that man's voice, but why was the face unfamiliar? Sierami also stared blankly at Charlotte. Her small mouth moved as if she wanted to call out the name she wanted to call out the most. But the unfamiliar face in front of her made her not dare to call out. What are you looking at? I'm talking about you, big breasts but no brains. The man said. The corner of his mouth floated into a trace of a friendly smile. Sierami seemed to have discovered something. She cheered and suddenly pounced on the man. She didn't care where she was. When she approached the man, she jumped and wrapped her legs around the man's waist. Her arms also wrapped around the man's legs. Then, in full view of everyone, she kissed the man's lips. A large group of women looked at each other in dismay. Has the chief gone crazy thinking about men? Don't we have so many men in our tribe? She can have as many as she wants. Why would she go so far as to hook up with one on the street? That man just called her big breasts, but no brains. That's right. Why did she jump on him? Kissing him. If it was me, I would have slapped her. But His voice is very familiar. It seems to be that man. Which man? Stupid, the chief's man. That China man, Charlotte. No way. Charlotte is so handsome, so good-looking. His skin is soft and tender, and he works very well. I'm talking about the voice. What are you talking about? At this time, Shirami jumped down from the man's body and affectionately pulled the man's hand. Come back to the hotel with me. The man said, let's go to my hotel. I prepared something for you. The man looked at the women and said, you guys come with me. I'll treat you. Whatever you need, just tell me. Okay. Then a woman said, I want 10 pairs of underwear. I want 10 bras. I want. The women talked at once. The man had a strange expression on his face and said in Chinese, what a simple woman. Shirami suddenly laughed and said, you big breasts but no brains. Do you know who he is? I'm telling you, my man is back. A woman said in surprise, you are Xia. The man put a finger between his lips and said, Shh. The woman who was about to call out his name closed her mouth. This man with a strange face was Charlotte. He originally planned to fly back to China from Islamabad, but when he arrived in Islamabad, he changed his mind. Since he was already in Islamabad, he was very close to Peshawar. He knew that the White Xiongnu tribe had a stronghold in Peshawar. Every once in a while, the women of the White Xiongnu tribe would come to Peshawar to sell their specialties, and then buy some necessities to go back. He wanted to give the weapons he brought this time to the White Xiongnu tribe and give them some money so that they could live a better life. He didn't expect to see Shirami in Peshawar. When he arrived in Peshawar, he found the stronghold of the White Xiongnu tribe and inquired about Shirami's arrival, which led to the scene just now. Shirami held Charlotte's arm and followed her. Several women of the White Xiongnu tribe followed behind them, chattering. Shirami suddenly said, Xia, the two people following behind us are your people, right? In a place like Peshawar, although he was wearing a human skin mask, Charlotte had to bring bodyguards just in case. The people following behind him were Akiko, Tsukino, and Urdamu, both of whom were experts in assassination. Charlotte didn't look back, just nodded lightly. Don't worry about them. Let's stroll our streets. What do you like? I'll buy it for you. I only like you. Charlotte smiled. Then I'll give it to you too. After a pause, he added, did you come here on horseback? Yes, we don't have a car. How about this? I'll buy you a few cars, a truck that can transport goods, and an off-road vehicle that can be driven on rough roads. In this way, you don't have to work so hard. At least you can come here and bring less goods. How can that be? It'll cost a lot of money. Don't worry about the money. That won't do. I haven't even given you a child. I can't take so many things from you. How about I give birth to a child for you? That way, I can take your car. Charlotte, after strolling around the streets, the women of the White Xiongnu tribe returned with a full load. The gifts that Charlotte gave them were more than their size, to the point that they couldn't carry them. In the end, Charlotte hired a small truck to send them to the White Xiongnu stronghold. Charlotte took Shirami to his hotel room. In the room, there was an engineering plastic box. Open it and take a look. Charlotte said, what's inside? Open it and you'll know. I know this is a box for guns. Shirami smiled mischievously, but I don't want the guns in the box, I want your guns. Charlotte. But before he could say anything, Shirami leaned over and snuggled into his arms. You're so cruel. You didn't come to see me for so long. The CIA wanted to catch me. I didn't dare to go to Afghanistan. After a pause, he added, if you want to talk, then talk. Why take off my pants? Shirami pushed him down on the bed and then rode on him like a knight. Language had lost its meaning at this time. At this time, saying 100 words wouldn't be as pleasurable as a simple action, so why bother saying it? How long are you staying this time? I'll leave tomorrow. I don't want, it's only a day, I don't want. It's too dangerous here. I can't stay too long. This time I came to see you, and then I'll give you the weapons. Shirami weakly lay on Charlotte's body, looking pitiful. I know your identity is very special, and the Americans want to catch you. But I really miss you. I miss you every night. In the future, when there's peace, I can come to see you often. Then give me a little monkey. What little monkey? Your little monkey? I'll give you a little monkey. When you're not here, I'll play with him. Seeing him is the same as seeing you. Shirami's voice was very gentle, but her actions were not gentle at all. So this is what you mean by little monkey. Charlotte smiled bitterly. Are you giving it to me or not? Yes, I'll give it to you. You're so nice, you're not allowed to sleep tonight. Charlotte. Chapter 827. A day in Peshawar was like a holiday. The next day, Charlotte returned to China. Shalami was a beautiful memory for him, and could also be said to be his confidant. Their current relationship was the most harmonious one. He wouldn't really enter her life, and she wouldn't really enter his life. After many years, this relationship might change for some reason, but the friendship between them wouldn't change. On the first day back in Jingdu, Charlotte didn't show up in public. He didn't even go to the Thunder Horse military factory. Before he showed up in public, he had to take care of one thing, which was Shalami. In a room in Ping'an House. Uncle Xiao, where is this? Shalami, who was wrapped in gauze, blinked at Charlotte. Her eyes were cute. Her mind was no more than a 10-year-old. Charlotte said gently, "This is my home. Your home is so big and beautiful." Her eyes suddenly dimmed. "I don't even remember what my home looks like. You'll remember? Now, let me help you remove the gauze." Charlotte took the plate with the scissors and disinfectant to the bedside. He placed down the blanket and prepared to remove the gauze for Shalami, who was lying on the bed. "Won't it itch if I remove it?" "Yes, it won't itch if I remove the gauze." Charlotte talked to her as he used the scissors to remove the gauze. The gauze was attached to the blood scars. Charlotte had a hard time removing it, and it was very awkward. Although her mind was less than a 10-year-old, her body was a mature woman's body. When he removed the gauze around her chest, it felt like he was peeling bamboo shoots. When he peeled the bamboo shoot's shell, the white and tender bamboo shoot meat was revealed. The last scissors made the bamboo shoot jump. In the face of such a beautiful scene, how many men in the world didn't want to become a panda that loved to eat bamboo shoots? What surprised him was that the blood scars on her body were almost stuck to the gauze. He pulled off the gauze, and the scars fell off her skin. The skin under the blood scars was white and tender, like warm white jade. This was the best skin he had ever seen. It was perfect. Shameful. Hee, Uncle Xia, you're really not ashamed. When Charlotte took off the gauze on her leg, she scratched her face with her fingers and made fun of Charlotte. However, not only did she not try to cover it up, she even kicked Charlotte's stomach. With her kick, what else could Charlotte not see? "Stop fooling around. I'll give you the gauze on your head now." Charlotte grabbed the quilt and covered her body with it. She didn't think much of it, but the impact it had on him was huge, and he almost couldn't work. Charlotte tried to cover her with a blanket, but she kicked it away and shouted, "I don't want to be covered with a blanket, no." Charlotte smiled bitterly and shook his head. He was tormented by her until he lost his temper. If she didn't want to cover it, then so be it. Just imagine her as a little girl. He braced himself to remove the gauze on her head. The gauze was removed layer by layer, until the last layer. For some reason, Charlotte felt inexplicably nervous. Gingerly, he grabbed the gauze and pulled it away from her skin. The gauze was also stuck with blood scars, and they were densely packed. When the gauze was removed from her face, the process was like peeling a boiled egg. Underneath the shell was tender, white, and new skin that was as tender as egg white. Her face was finally completely exposed to the air. Charlotte was stunned and almost forgot to breathe. In front of him was not peaceful, nor was it Gu Qian, but Princess Yongmei, Zhu Xianyue. The woman in front of him was exactly the same as the Zhu Xianyue he had seen in the ancient tomb in White Horse Tomorrow City. There was also the female corpse in the sunken ship in Okinawa, Japan. The similarity was 100%. In fact, even if a 3D printer was used to print something, it was impossible to print something that was exactly the same. However, the woman in front of him was 100% the same as the two female corpses he had seen. Her height, appearance, hair, skin, and even the microscopic pores were all the same. She reached out her hand and waved it in front of Charlotte's eyes. She giggled and said, "Uncle Xia, look at me. I can't even move my eyes. How shameless." Charlotte came back to his senses. He took a deep breath and asked tentatively, "Who are you?" Didn't you say I was peaceful? She smiled and said, Then I am peaceful. Ning ning, jing jing jing. Gu Qian? Charlotte said a name. Who is Gu Qian? Zhu Xianhua. Charlotte said another name. Who is Zhu Xianhua? When Charlotte mentioned Gu Qian and Zhu Xianhua, he was still testing her, but her reaction did not change. This was different from the situation in India. At that time, she had just woken up. One moment, she would be peaceful, and the next moment, she would be Gu Qian. It was unpredictable. Now, she seemed to be fixed in the mode of a little girl. However, he wasn't sure if this would be the final form. A new problem was placed in front of him. What kind of identity should he give her? If she was peaceful, even Peaceful's parents would not recognize her. If she was Gu Qian, it was impossible. Gu Qian was still a wanted criminal in this country. Personally, he did not want her to have anything to do with Gu Qian. If she was Zhu Xianhua, she had not shown the characteristics of Zhu Xianhua. And Zhu Xianhua was a person who did not exist. Could she use this identity? Charlotte was worried. Using Peaceful's identity and saying that she had plastic surgery is the easiest way to solve the problem, but she escaped from the nursing home. If I use Peaceful's identity and she is here with me, how am I going to explain it to Innings 101 or the other investigators? This is so troublesome. Uncle Xia, what are you hiding there? Her voice was interrupted. Charlotte's thoughts were interrupted. He said, What did you say? I said, What are you hiding there? She pointed at a part of Charlotte's pants. She looked curious. Xiaolei looked down at his pants, which had a lump sticking out. His face instantly turned red. He said awkwardly, that's a screwdriver. Why do you have a screwdriver in your pants? What if it pricks you? She reached for his screwdriver, as if she wanted to help him correct his mistake. Charlotte quickly dodged and explained, It's okay. My screwdriver won't prick me. You don't have to worry about it. She said innocently, Uncle Xia, do you only know how to prick other people with your screwdriver? Xiaolei's forehead was instantly covered with black lines. Yes, his screwdriver only knew how to prick other people, and the victims were all beautiful women. But it felt weird to hear something like that from the mouth of a little girl. Uncle Xia, why don't I have a screwdriver? She looked at the same part, looking depressed. She was as pure as a piece of white paper. She had a perfect face and a perfect body. She was like an elf in Western mythology or a fairy in Eastern mythology. But why was her brain so simple? With that thought in mind, Charlotte's left eye twitched, and he switched to X-ray mode. In the vision of his left eye, her beautiful face disappeared, the skull also disappeared, and the grayish-white brain tissue entered his vision. The vision of his left eye was like a stream of water, rushing through the brain tissue in front of him, and constantly penetrating deeper and deeper. That is, he was suddenly shocked. In the center of her brain, there was something like mineral powder, glowing faintly. He was not unfamiliar with this thing. He had seen it in the underground labyrinth in Italy on the painting of the starry sky. Da Vinci used invisible ink to describe it in his notebook. She always came back with injuries, and every time she would bring back a little mineral powder and smear it on the canvas. I asked her what the mineral powder was, but she never told me. I also asked her why she painted such a strange picture. She said that if she died, one day someone would come here to wake her up. I can't understand such a thing, just like I can't understand the world of God. The clue to solving the mystery was hidden in Da Vinci's description. The substance was not a mineral, but an energy body. It was the core substance that made up Zhu Xianhua. Where Zhu Xianhua came from, or rather, where she was born, and where she obtained the energy substance, no one knew. The mineral powder-like energy substance lurked in her brain tissue, but there was no sign of movement. It was like it was in a dormant state. Although he did not know what the substance was, the existence of the substance helped him solve a problem. The person in front of him was not peaceful, and it was not Gu Qian. It was Zhu Xianhua. In the future, Charlotte hesitated, but he still said it. Listen carefully. Your name is Zhu Xianhua, remember? Isn't that serenity? She looked very curious. Charlotte shook his head. Not peaceful. You are Zhu Xianhua. If someone asks you what your name is, tell them your name is Zhu Xianhua. If someone asks you where your home is or where you are from, tell them you are from the White Hun of Afghanistan. Who would ask me such a strange question? Just remember what I said. If you don't listen to me, I will send you away, Charlotte said with a straight face. Uncle Xia, I will listen to you. Don't send me away, okay? Zhu Xianyue looked pitiful. Charlotte said, Good girl. As long as you listen to me, I will not send you away. Okay. Zhu Xianyue made a nasal sound and suddenly burrowed into Charlotte's arms. Xiaolei's body immediately stiffened. She was not a little girl, but a mature and alluring, peerless beauty. Uncle Xia, your screwdriver is so weird. It looks like it wants to stab me. Charlotte was speechless. Uncle Xia, can I see your screwdriver? Charlotte could not stand her anymore. He pushed her away and ran away. After he was a few meters away from her, he took out his phone and made a phone call. Olji, what are you busy with? I have a favor to ask of you. Chairman Xia, you don't have to be so polite with me. Just tell me what you need. Haha, then I won't be polite. Help me get a visa. Her name is Zhu Xianyue. Chapter 828. Zhu Xianyue stayed in Ping'an House. Only the members of the Zodiac team and Xia Changhe knew where she came from. Her identity to the public was Zhu Xianyue, a woman from the White Hun tribe in Afghanistan who had returned to China to find her family. Unfortunately, she had been hit in the head by Xia Changhe when she had just arrived in Jing City. Because of this, Charlotte let her stay in Ping'an House, and take care of her was the right thing to do. The day after Zhu Xianyue was settled in, Charlotte received a call from Tang Yuyan. He drove to the semi-military controlled sanatorium where Peaceful had escaped. He saw Tang Yuyan standing in front of the inpatient department from afar. She was wearing a white sweater, blue jeans, and New Balance shoes. She looked fresh and stylish. Her breasts pushed the white sweater high, and her but was full of blue jeans. Her curves were mature and attractive. The afternoon sun shone on her face, and her face was charming. She was like a white peony, beautiful and elegant, with a natural air of nobility. Charlotte got out of the car and walked to her with a smile. Ian, what's up? I asked you, but you didn't tell me. You even called me here. Peaceful is missing. Don't you know? Tang Yuyan looked at Charlotte. She couldn't hide the smile on her face when she said that. Women would dress for the man they liked. Seeing the man they liked, women couldn't hide the joy in their hearts. Peaceful is missing? Charlotte pretended to be surprised. When did this happen? A few days. Tang Yuyan grabbed Charlotte's hand and led him into the building. As they walked, she said the hospital hid it. They didn't report it until they couldn't find her. Well, I only found out about it yesterday. It was reported yesterday. Are you here to investigate today? Of course not. I asked a special agent to investigate yesterday, but there was no result. I decided to go there myself to see if I could find any clues. You're here to investigate the case? Why did you call me here? Charlotte's heart suddenly had a trace of vigilance. After all, he was the one who asked Qin Xiang to steal him. If Tang Yuyan came to test him because she was responsible for the investigation, he had to be prepared in advance. Tang Yuyan rolled her eyes at Charlotte. You're our consultant for 101 innings. You're an expert in this field. Can I ask you to help me investigate? If Long Bing were to encounter such a task, you would definitely go to it as soon as I call you, right? Xiao Lei let out a sigh of relief, but he kept a straight face. What are you talking about? Peaceful is my friend. She went missing, and I was worried. Even if you didn't ask me to come, I would have come to help. What are you talking about? Don't worry. A lot of people are looking for her. I believe they will find her soon. Don't worry too much. As she spoke, she pressed the elevator door. After entering the elevator, Charlotte thought to himself, she has become a different person. It would be strange if you guys could find her. The elevator door closed. Tang Yuyan suddenly pushed Charlotte. Charlotte took a step back and leaned his back against the elevator. Tang Yuyan took the opportunity to move closer. She placed her hands on both sides of Charlotte's shoulders and pushed him against the wall. Four pairs of eyes looked at each other. One was awkward and nervous, and the other was passionate. You? Charlotte was the first to lose his cool. Didn't Uncle Xia tell you? Tang Yuyan slowly pressed against Charlotte. The towering peaks broke through the small gap between them and collided with his chest. Then they compressed bit by bit. The process was like two towering snow mountains collapsing at the same time. What did you tell me? Without waiting for her to speak, Charlotte changed the topic. Don't do this. It's not good to be seen. I don't care. Tang Yuyin continued to press against him. I have been waiting for you to say something. How much longer do you want me to wait? Didn't I make it very clear? Charlotte braced himself and said, I don't want to get married again. Then why do you make so much money? There is no one to inherit it. Why do you still work so hard? Charlotte smiled bitterly. I haven't thought about it yet. I will tell you when I think about it. But just as his voice fell, Tang Yuyin suddenly broke through the last bit of space between the two of them, and in an instant, her tender cherry lips covered Xia Lei's mouth. A second later, her tongue launched an attack. Pride opened his teeth and went into his mouth. His mouth was full of fragrance and sweetness, and it was soft and smooth. Her lilac tongue was like a strawberry cake with cream. Charlotte reached out to push her away, but for some reason, he pressed against her softness. This action, he thought he was preparing to push, but in the eyes of others, it was a touch. The elevator door suddenly opened. A few medical staff in white coats stared at the man and woman in the elevator with their mouths open. The entangled man and woman had two eye-catching points, the woman's mouth and the man's hand. The moment the elevator door opened, everything came to a halt. A second later, Tang Yuyin quickly let go of Charlotte. Charlotte looked up at the ceiling of the elevator as if he was looking for loose screws or something. Ahem. Tang Yuyin coughed and then walked out of the elevator. Where is your director? I am Tang Yuyin. I am the leader of the investigation team in charge of investigating Peaceful's disappearance. A middle-aged man came forward, looking very polite. Oh, it's Miss Tang. Nice to meet you. My surname is also Tang. We are a family. Before Director Tang could finish his introduction, Tang Yuyin interrupted him. She raised her hand slightly. This is Charlotte, my colleague. Yes, he is also my fiancé. What kind of introduction was this? A few hospital staff looked at Tang Yuyin and Charlotte strangely, including Dr. Wei Guani, who was very familiar with Charlotte. He knew Charlotte's identity, but he pretended not to know him. Just then, a nurse suddenly ran out from a room at the end of the corridor. She looked flustered as she ran and shouted, Oh no! Something has happened. Director, something has happened. What happened? Dean Tang frowned. What are you panicking for? If there's anything, we can talk in my office later. The nurse ran over, looking anxious. It seemed that something serious had happened, but she was stopped by Director Tang's words. Unruly, go to my office and wait. Dean Tang said with a straight face and a dignified look. The nurse was about to leave when Tang Yuyin suddenly said, Wait, what happened? Tell me now. This. The nurse looked at Director Tang. Director Tang smiled. Miss Tang, it's my fault. She is new and doesn't know the rules. I think we should go, Tang Yuyin said coldly. I want her to say it now. If she doesn't, you won't have a chance to say it. Director Tang's face suddenly turned pale. Say it. Tang Yuyin's voice was filled with anger. This was the first time Charlotte saw Tang Yuyin angry. It was also the first time he felt that her leadership aura was so strong. She was a completely different woman from when she was in the elevator. Say it. Are you stupid? Director Tang was anxious. The nurse was very nervous. Leader, director, another two members of the expert panel died. Director Tang was shocked. Another two members of the expert panel died? Tang Yuyin suddenly asked. Could it be that some of the members of the expert panel died before we came? The nurse nodded. Last night, one died. Director Tang's forehead suddenly had a few beads of cold sweat. Tang Yuyin pointed at Director Tang and said coldly, Peaceful is missing. You didn't report it and delayed the investigation. Last night, another member of the expert panel died, and you didn't report it. You are really a talent. It's too unfair for you to be the director. You will be guarding the door. Director Tang was suddenly stunned. What are you waiting for? Take me to see it. Tang Yuyin directly replaced Director Tang's authority and gave orders to several medical staff. Several medical staff followed and led the way. No one paid attention to Director Tang. Charlotte also followed. He didn't feel sympathy for Director Tang's experience at all. There were many such leaders who deceived their superiors and bullied their subordinates. If he hadn't met Tang Yuyin, this Director Tang would probably have been domineering until he retired. However, fate played a joke on him. There were 2 beds in the ward, and on each bed lay a member of the expert panel. There was no blood on their faces, and they were not breathing. They had died not long ago, but they looked like corpses that had been frozen in the refrigerator for several days, giving people a feeling of zombies. It was scary to look at. How long have they been dead? Tang Yuyin asked. I don't know the specific time, but it is estimated that it will not be more than an hour. The nurse who found the bodies said. Tang Yuyin looked at Charlotte, and her fierce eyes suddenly became gentle. Charlotte walked to one of the beds and reached out to touch the wrist of the deceased. His hand was cold, and the feeling of being frozen was very obvious. He felt strange. The time of death is less than an hour, and the body can't be so cold. What is going on? His left eye twitched slightly, and the scalp and skull of the deceased disappeared from his left eye's sight. This X-ray vision gave him a shock. The brain of the deceased had shrunk, and it was only the size of an apple. It was dry, without any water, and the color was not the gray of a normal brain, but the color of rotten black. For a person who had died less than an hour, his brain would not have any obvious changes other than stopping working. This strange situation in front of him was definitely not normal. What happened to these 2 members of the expert panel? This question popped up in Charlotte's heart. Oh no! A woman's voice came from outside the door. Someone died? Another member of the expert panel died. Doctor, come and save him. The doctor in the ward rushed out. Charlotte was stunned for a moment, and then he also ran out of the door. Chapter 829. In another ward, several medical staff tried to resuscitate the 2 members of the expert panel who had just died. They gave them adrenaline injections and so on. However, no matter how hard the doctors tried, the line on the electrocardiograph that represented the heartbeat never trembled. It was as steady as the rails on a high-speed railway. 10 minutes later, the medical staff gave up. They tried all kinds of first aid methods and were really tired and sweaty, but the 2 members of the expert panel had no reaction at all. Miss Tang, Mr. Xia. Wei Guanyi looked helpless. I'm really sorry. We've tried our best, but we still can't save the 2 members of the expert panel. How could this happen? Tang Yuyin couldn't hide the surprise in her heart. Wei Guanyi said, in fact, we did a preliminary examination on the member of the expert panel who died last night, and we know some things. We found that his bodily functions suddenly failed, especially his brain. His brain seemed to have been exposed to the sun for several days. There was no water, and it had shrunk very much. What caused it? Tang Yuyin asked. Wei Guanyi shook his head. I don't know. You're a doctor. How can you not know? Tang Yuyin was not satisfied with such an answer. Wei Guanyi said, Miss Tang, I'm sure that even the best forensic doctor can't find the cause of death. While Tang Yuyin and Wei Guanyi were talking, Charlotte walked to one of the beds, activated the X-ray ability of his left eye, and quickly looked at the head of the corpse on the bed. It was also at this time that he was surprised to find that the brain of the deceased was rapidly shrinking, losing water and losing its normal color. Instead, it was replaced by a rotten black color. Then he looked at the chest and abdomen of the deceased. He found that the organs of the deceased looked normal, as if they had just stopped working. What's going on? He was surprised. Did you find anything? Tang Yuyin came over. Charlotte thought for a moment. I don't know what's going on either. Until now, we haven't even found out why these members of the expert panel went crazy, let alone the cause of their death. Tang Yuyin frowned and was lost in thought. Oh no, not good. Dr. Wei. Outside the door, another woman exclaimed, the last expert, is about to die. Charlotte ran out of the door. He saw a female nurse standing in front of a ward, and he ran over to her. Wait for me. Tang Yuyin chased after him. After entering the ward, Charlotte saw a woman lying on the bed. She was a physics scientist. Charlotte had met her in the base in the belly of the mountain, but they hadn't talked. At that time, She was very healthy. Her complexion was rosy, and her skin was well maintained. She was a rather good-looking middle-aged woman. But now, her face was pale, without a trace of blood. Although her eyes were wide open, her gaze was unfocused. There wasn't the slightest bit of divine light or spiritual energy that a normal person would have. There was only dullness and emptiness. However, the strangest thing was that even though she was about to die, there was a hint of a smile on her lips. It was a peaceful and serene smile, and it gave off a very comfortable and serene feeling. The existence of this smile gave off the illusion that she was not someone who was about to step on the road to hell, but someone who had already bought a ticket to heaven and was about to board the ship to heaven. Wei Guanyi and several medical staff quickly rushed to the ward with emergency equipment. But before they could do anything, the female physicist lying on the hospital bed opened her mouth. After a strange sound, she could only exhale air from her mouth. She could not breathe in any more. Wei Guanyi led a few medical personnel to carry out emergency treatment. Charlotte's left eye looked into the female scientist's brain, and what he saw was a brain that was shrinking. The scene was like a spherical ice cream placed under the hot sun, and under the scorching sun, its size was rapidly shrinking. This was a very vivid image, but the former speed was even faster. What the hell is going on? Charlotte's heart was filled with horror and confusion. A few minutes later, Wei Guanyi came in front of Charlotte and Tang Yuyan. Mr. Xia, Miss Tang, there's nothing I can do. All the members of the expert panel are dead, and this matter is over. I'm sorry that I can't help much. Tang Yuyan said, I will send a professional forensic doctor to examine the body. Write me a detailed report. Okay, I'll go prepare the materials for the report. Wei Guanyi didn't say anything more, and he left the ward. When he walked to the door, he looked back at Charlotte, but saw that Charlotte was still staring at the body on the bed, and the look in his eyes was very strange. Let's go, Tang Yuyan said. Okay. Charlotte withdrew his gaze, turned around, and left the ward. Walking out of the inpatient department building, the afternoon sun was still bright, but the two of them felt cold. There was a feeling of panic in their hearts, and they couldn't get rid of it. The members of the expert panel are all dead, and only Peaceful is left. Tang Yuyan sighed, but I don't even know if she's dead or alive. I hope she's okay. Charlotte's heart hurt a little. The truth he knew was that Serenity was not really dead, but she had indeed disappeared. There was no peace in this world. But he couldn't tell this truth to Tang Yuyan. This is really weird. Back then, the expert panel died, and some went crazy. Now, even the expert who went crazy is dead, and it happened within 24 hours. Who could explain such a thing? I don't think I can solve this case, Tang Yuyan said. Charlotte thought, maybe when Peaceful went crazy, she wasn't herself. Zhu Xianyuan must know the truth, but she is in a state of hibernation. I don't know when she will wake up. This is such a headache. Forget it. This kind of thing should be left to the experts to solve. I don't want to do this. Tang Yuyan took a deep breath and smiled. Let's go have a cup of coffee. After going through something like this, you still have the mood to drink coffee. Charlotte looked at her, speechless. People like us have seen a lot of dead people. Don't make excuses. Tang Yuyan held Charlotte's arm affectionately. It's rare for us to be together. No matter what, I won't let you go. Drink coffee with me. Yes, I heard there's a good coffee shop. I want to try it. Charlotte smiled bitterly and let her lead him away. After that, it was time for lovers. Tang Yuyan not only took him to drink coffee, but she also dragged him to the cinema. If he hadn't secretly sent a message to his father, Xia Changhe, to call him on purpose, he guessed that Tang Yuyan would have dragged him to the hotel. When they returned to Ping and residence, it was already dark. Xia Changhe was in the courtyard drinking tea and admiring the moon. Dad, look at what you've done for me. When Charlotte saw Xia Changhe, he complained. You promised her, and she came to force me. I don't know what to do. Xia Changhe smiled. I said that I promised her. It's up to you to decide whether it will work or not. Charlotte looked worried. But once you agreed, everyone in the Tang family became serious. They were just waiting for me to agree. When Tang Yuyan introduced me to others today, she said that I was her fiancé. I didn't know what to say. She also said that her godfather's 60th birthday is coming up, and she wants me to give her an answer then. How should I answer her? You can answer however you want. It's not that difficult to reject someone, right? Unless you actually have feelings for her, don't you? Xiao Chang'e said. Charlotte smiled bitterly. Do you think it's easy to reject someone? Sometimes, rejection is a kind of hurt. Xiao Chang'e took a sip of tea and looked like he was enjoying it. But the words he said were different. I don't care about you youngsters' affairs. I just want to know when you're going to let me hold my grandchildren. Don't tell me that you don't want to get a wife. Tell me, and I'll beat you to death. Charlotte was speechless. For what his father said, he actually liked Tang Yuyin as his daughter-in-law. It turned out that his father was also someone who said one thing and did another. However, how could there be a father in the world who didn't want to hold a grandson? His son had built such a big foundation, but he had no intention of producing an heir. How could that be? In fact, his method of forcing a marriage was considered very mild among the parents who forced a marriage. Forget it. I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm going back to the house. Charlotte wanted to slip away. Wait. Xiao Chang'e has stopped Charlotte. Is there still no news from the Knight's Hospitaller? Do you mean the information about the headquarters of the FA organization? Charlotte lowered his voice. Xiao Chang'e nodded. It's not a good idea to keep those 4 women here. You have to urge them. Charlotte said, according to our agreement, the Knight's Hospitaller will give me an accurate answer in a month. Before that, just keep a close eye on those 4 women. I'm keeping them here because I'll need to use them when the time comes. In short, you have to end the cooperation with the Knight's Hospitaller as soon as possible. Otherwise, you'll get into trouble. Xiao Chang'e said. Charlotte said, I got it. I'll urge the Knight's Hospitaller after Boss Shi's 60th birthday. I'm going to. Grandpa Tang asked me to play chess, Xiao Chang'e said. Charlotte was speechless. And the woman you brought back, Charlotte interrupted Xiao Chang'e. Dad, don't worry about her. Believe me, you can't do anything about it even if you want to. He didn't explain much and turned to leave. Xiao Chang'e sighed and looked up at the moon. There was no smile on his face. He left alone with the moonlight shining on him. Charlotte secretly thought, am I really going to be with Tang Yuyin or even marry her? This was the first time he had thought of such a question. His head was numb. Then he thought of the words that the black-robed man said to him on the rooftop of the headquarters building of Qiangli Biotechnology Company in New Delhi. Give me an answer in 3 years, and then I'll kill you. His mood suddenly fell, and he was also full of anxiety and worry about the future. If he only had 3 years to live, and Rema Group didn't have an heir, would such a life be incomplete? Would it be a regret in life that couldn't be made up for? Passing by Zhu Xuanyue's room, Charlotte's left eye twitched slightly, and the door and window that blocked his view disappeared from his sight. Zhu Xuanyue wasn't asleep. She was lying on the edge of the bed, looking under the bed, as if she was looking for something. But this wasn't the point. The point was that there wasn't even a square centimeter of clothes on her body. The big white lump that was raised up and, at a glance, Charlotte almost spat out a mouthful of blood. What was she doing? No one knew. Chapter 830. Although it was very inconvenient and awkward, Charlotte still entered Zhu Xuanyue's room. The moment he reached the door, Zhu Xuanyue, who was lying on the bed with her but in the air, suddenly pushed herself off the ground. Her palms seemed to have an elastic booster that suddenly activated, giving her a huge counterforce. Her body was like an arrow that had been released from a bow, and her legs were in front of Charlotte's face in an instant. It was a pair of crystal clear jade feet, and there was not a single callus on the soles of her feet. Her legs were definitely the peerlessly beautiful legs that those leg lovers could play with for several years without getting tired of. However, Charlotte was not in the mood to admire them at all. Not only that, he suddenly panicked, because Zhu Xuanyue's legs carried a power that even he was afraid of. If he was kicked by her, the bridge of his nose would burst. Caught off guard, Charlotte bent his legs and squatted down. Just as he squatted down, Zhu Xuanyue's pair of long legs that were like arrows flew past his scalp. However, in that instant, Zhu Xuanyue's hands fell from the air and grabbed his neck. A powerful force came, followed by a feeling of suffocation. Charlotte fell to the ground, and his right leg went up, chopping towards Zhu Xuanyue's head like a knife. Zhu Xianyue let go of his neck, and her hands reached forward, grabbing his right leg. The attack and defense ended in an instant. Charlotte fell to the ground, and Zhu Xianyue fell on top of him. She was between his legs, and his head was between her legs. The two of them were in a 6 and 9 position. Zhu Xianyue might be fine, because Charlotte was wearing pants. But Charlotte could not stay calm, because there was nothing on Zhu Xuanyue's body, and his head was between her legs. What he should not see and what he should not smell were close at hand, almost touching. The thrill of almost having a nosebleed increased by more than 10 times, and he felt like he was about to explode. Uncle Xia, Zhu Xianyue seemed to have realized it was Charlotte this time, and she climbed up from his body with a guilty look. "I'm sorry, I didn't know it was you." Charlotte climbed up from the ground and looked at her, but his heart was still filled with shock. How is she so strong? She's even stronger than Master. Liang Zhengchun was immersed in Wing Chun Fist and had internal energy, so he couldn't compare with her. But if Liang Zhengchun was compared to Zhu Xianyue, Liang Zhengchun was much weaker. The cruel reality was, if they really fought, he would not be able to win against Zhu Xianyue. "Uncle Xia, why are you looking at me?" Zhu Xianyue waved her hand in front of Xia Lei. Only then did Charlotte come back to his senses. "Why did you attack me just now?" "I don't know, I felt someone come in and I don't know what was going on, so I just did it." "I'm sorry, Uncle Xia." Zhu Xianyue lowered her head, looking like a naughty child who had done something wrong. Seeing her like this, Charlotte was too embarrassed to reprimand her, so he smiled bitterly. "It's okay, but remember, you're not allowed to hit people in the future. You have a lot of strength, and it's easy to hurt people." "And I know." Zhu Xianyue revealed a smile. "What were you doing just now? Were you looking for something?" Charlotte asked. "A little thing," Zhu Xianyue said. "What little thing?" Charlotte bent down to look under the bed. But at this time, a mouse suddenly jumped out from under the bed and fled in the direction of the bathroom. Zhu Xuanyue's figure flashed, and when she stopped again, the mouse was already in her hands. Charlotte was stunned. He only saw a white figure and did not see how Zhu Xianyue made her move, but she had already caught the mouse in her hands. The speed that she displayed was not a speed that a human could have, and he was no exception. Zhu Xuanyue's hand suddenly clenched. "Ji!" The mouse screamed and died in Zhu Xuanyue's hands. "Xianyue." Charlotte wanted to say something, but when the words came to his mouth, he did not know what to say. Disregarding her body, Zhu Xianyue was definitely an innocent and cute little girl in his eyes, but the things that she did gave him a cold and scary feeling. Zhu Xianyue walked towards Charlotte with a sweet smile on her face. "Uncle Xia, this is for you to play with." Charlotte. Without waiting for Charlotte to agree, Zhu Xianyue had already placed the dead mouse in Charlotte's hands. It was cold to the touch, and the mouse's body seemed to have been frozen in a freezer for a few minutes. Not knowing why, Charlotte suddenly remembered what he had experienced in the nursing home in the afternoon. He had touched the body of a specialist, and that specialist's body was also cold. Charlotte's left eye twitched slightly, and he instantly saw through the mouse's brain. The mouse's brain did not shrink, and it looked very normal. This made him heave a sigh of relief. If the mouse's brain also started to shrink, he would really suspect that she had something to do with the specialist's death. "Yawn. My stomach is full. I want to sleep." Zhu Xianyue yawned. "Uncle Xia, I want to sleep with you. Can you hug me to sleep?" Charlotte hurriedly shook his head. "No. Sleep by yourself. And don't say that in the future, remember? I want to sleep with you," Zhu Xianyue said coquettishly. "Listen to me." Charlotte put on a serious face. "Okay, why are you so fierce?" Zhu Xianyue pouted, looking very wronged. "Also, in the future, no matter if you're in a room or outside, you must wear clothes, and you're not allowed to be naked. Remember?" Charlotte's expression was very strict. Zhu Xianyue pouted and did not say anything, but she still nodded her head. "Go to sleep. I will find you a teacher tomorrow, and she will teach you some etiquette After saying this, Charlotte left Zhu Xuanyue's room. After leaving Zhu Xuanyue's room, Charlotte threw the dead mouse into the trash can at the side of the corridor. He looked back at Zhu Xuanyue's room, and with the X-ray vision of his left eye, he saw that Zhu Xuanyue was wearing a pair of underwear. The process made him full of reverie, and it was very uncomfortable. She is still very obedient. Tomorrow, I will let Qin Kaiwa teach her some etiquette. Charlotte thought so in his heart. He withdrew his gaze and left alone. However, after Charlotte left, Zhu Xuanyue, who was only wearing a pair of underwear, paced around the room, talking to herself. Who are you? Who are you? What do you want? What do you want? Shut up. You should shut up. The next day, Charlotte brought Zhu Xuanyue to the Thunder Horse military factory and then asked Qin Kaiwa to teach her etiquette. Zhu Xuanyue was unwilling at first, but after being scolded by Charlotte, she obediently followed Qin Kaiwa to learn. Not long after that, Huang Shuwen came to the office. Chairman Xia, Huang Shuwen, said politely, I have an idea to talk to you. What's your opinion? Xia Lei looked at him with interest. The intelligent technology you provided us is very advanced. My colleagues in the Artificial Intelligence Department and I have been greatly inspired. We have discussed that there are some artificial intelligence technologies that can be applied to our production line and weapons and equipment. For example, the scavenger infantry fighting vehicle and the tank that is being researched. The artificial intelligence technology obtained from Hattori Masao was not an artificial intelligence technology in the military field, but as long as some changes and innovations were made, it could be applied to military production. Charlotte played the role of a material supplier in this matter. He provided all kinds of excellent materials, while Huang Shuwen and the Artificial Intelligence Department played the role of a processor. They picked out the usable ones from the thousands of materials provided by Charlotte and adapted them to create the artificial intelligence products that belong to the Thunder Horse military factory. Okay, this is a good thing. Let's do it. Feel free to ask for any resources you need. Charlotte was very happy. Huang Shuwen had achieved results so quickly. This meant that his choice and decision back then were correct. Huang Shuwen said, I need the support of Miss Sylvia and Miss Anina. They are researching our tank. I want to ask you to allow our artificial intelligence department to join in the research. Charlotte nodded. Okay, I will call them right away. Also, Chairman Xia. Huang Shuwen hesitated for a moment, but still brought it up. Our artificial intelligence department only has one office and can only do research on paper. We need a laboratory and a workshop on top of that. I have calculated that the cost of building the laboratory and workshop is about 80 million. Charlotte did not say anything. Huang Shuwen became slightly nervous. Chairman Xia, I know we haven't achieved anything yet, so it's a bit. But I promise you, Charlotte suddenly smiled. You don't have to promise me anything. I will give you 100 million. Just do it. Huh? Huang Shuwen looked very surprised. Do you think it is too much? Charlotte smiled. No. It would be better if it was 100 million. Huang Shuwen also smiled. I just feel that Chairman Xia, you are too bold. I'm really happy to work for you. I'm giving you funds. You have to live up to my trust and apply artificial intelligence technology to our production as soon as possible. Our country is too far behind in this field. We have to catch up. Charlotte said, Okay, I will definitely do my best. Then I will go to work. Chairman Xia, go ahead. Huang Shuwen turned to leave. Wait. Charlotte stopped Huang Shuwen. He then took out a USB from the drawer and threw it to Huang Shuwen. Take a look at this. What is this? Huang Shuwen asked curiously. Charlotte said, This is a type of medical AI robot produced in Japan. It should represent the highest level of artificial intelligence technology in Japan. Take a look. It will be a great inspiration for you. You can even get this? Huang Shuwen was so surprised that he could not close his mouth. I naturally have my own channels. Go and do your work. Charlotte did not explain the origin of this technology. Huang Shuwen held the USB tightly in his hand. He could not hide the excitement in his heart. Chairman Xia, believe me, I will definitely build an artificial intelligence robot that belongs to us. We will have it for medical use and military use. Charlotte nodded with approval in his eyes. If he really only had 3 years left in his life, then in these 3 years he must build Rema Group in the world's top military industry group, comparable to Rheinmetall or even Lockheed Martin Corporation. Chapter 831. Half a month later, a military procurement conference was held in a venue in the capital. Charlotte became the only private military enterprise representative invited to attend the conference. At the entrance of the venue, Qin Kai Wei and Charlotte were stopped by 2 security guards. "Mr. Xia, only you can enter. Your secretary cannot enter." One of the security guards said politely, "Miss, please follow me to the lounge to wait." Charlotte said, "Wait for me in the lounge." "Okay." Qin Kaiwa left with the security guard. She could not enter an event like this, but she did not feel uncomfortable at all. She knew very well that the place Charlotte was about to enter and the people he was about to meet were not people a small secretary like her could enter or meet. Charlotte saw Yi Kuan as soon as he entered the venue. Others were in groups of 3 to 5, exchanging pleasantries with each other, but Yi Kuan was alone, looking very unsociable. This situation was not surprising at all, because although Yi Kuan was the CEO of the National Military Enterprise, Hanwoo Weapons Company, he was now Xia Tian's man, opposing those people. Those people did not want to see Yi Kuan. "Chairman Xia." Yi Kuan walked over with a flattering smile on his face. Charlotte smiled and greeted him warmly. "Old Yi, when did you arrive?" "I just arrived too." "Sit, sit, sit." Yi Kuan pulled out a chair for Charlotte. Charlotte was not used to his way of doing things, but he still sat down. There were many gazes from the side and opposite, and there were sounds of discussion. "Look at that Yi guy. He's like a slave." "Oh no, he's practically a eunuch." "Yeah, I'm sure that if Charlotte's shoes were dirty, he would probably kneel on the ground and use his tongue to clean it for Charlotte." "Damn, I hate this kind of traitor the most. If it wasn't for him, would Elder Mu fall from power?" "Speaking of Elder Mu, I'm full of anger. Elder Mu is still squatting in there, but this kid is still living a good life outside." "Exactly. If it wasn't for Yi Kuan's betrayal, would Elder Mu end up like this? To think that Elder Mu took such good care of him and even promoted him. What a black-hearted wolf." Although Yi Kuan is hateful, the most hateful one is that Xia guy. Look at him. A few years ago, he was still moving bricks at Haiju's construction site. Now he's actually attending such an important national defense conference. He's really ascending to the heavens. Humph. I like to see how long he can keep this up. I don't believe that he can eat all of us by himself. Be careful that he doesn't stuff himself to death. The voices of these discussions were not soft, and they seemed to be deliberately said for Charlotte and Yi Kuan to hear. When Charlotte heard this, his expression remained the same. When Yi Kuan heard this, his face turned green and then red. He was very angry, but he was secretly holding it in. The man-eating wolf did not make a sound. This was Yi Kuan's personality. Now that these people were mocking him and insulting him, once he seized the opportunity, he would return it tenfold, 100-fold, and torture that person to death. Charlotte could not wait for those people to humiliate Yi Kuan. This would make Yi Kuan hate those people even more, and he would be more willing to go against them. However, on the surface, he still comforted him. "Old Yi, just treat it as a bunch of mad dogs. Don't take their words to heart." Yi Kuan laughed coldly. "Chairman Xia, you're right. However, I'm a magnanimous person, and I won't take it to heart. If they were really capable, they wouldn't be like this, complaining like a bunch of resentful women. Other than complaining, what else can they do?" These words were obviously said to those who were against him. Some of them looked angry, but because of the occasion, no one dared to be presumptuous. However, if it were any other place, Yi Kuan's words would definitely cause conflict. At this moment, Yu Shanha and Ling Hao walked in. The two of them glanced at Charlotte and Yi Kuan, but did not greet them and went elsewhere. Yi Kuan lowered his voice. "Chairman Xia, I heard a piece of news." Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. "What news?" "I heard that Yu Shanha intends to let Ling Hao replace Mu Jianfeng's position. It's still in operation, but I don't know if it will succeed," Yi Kuan said. Charlotte's brows furrowed slightly. In his opinion, Yi Kuan's matter was no longer a matter of success, but a matter of time. With Yu Shanha's status, it was not difficult for him to make someone like Ling Hao, who was already of a high rank, replace Mu Jianfeng's vacated position. Once Ling Hao became the boss of Xinzhou Industry Group, with Ling Hao's means and the strength of Xinzhou Industry Group, Ling Hao would definitely bring him a lot of trouble. I also heard that the current situation is very unstable. As you know, America's policy of returning to Asia-Pacific is aimed at our country. The American warships openly provoke us, Japan's constant actions, and the THAAD anti-missile system that will be deployed in Korea are all threats to our side. So this meeting is mainly to revitalize our military industry and enhance our national defense strength. I think Yu Shanha will use this meeting to propose to let Ling Hao replace Mu Jianfeng's position. And Ling Hao will probably prepare a plan to cooperate with Yu Shanha. Speaking of this, Yi Kuan snorted softly. Maybe there will be a vote. If there are 100 people here, I think there will be a 98% pass rate. If 100 people voted, Charlotte and Yi Kuan would vote against it, and the rest would vote in favor. This was Yi Kuan's intention. However, Charlotte knew that even if there was a vote, he was absolutely not qualified to cast that kind of vote. And he knew that once Yu Shanha proposed it, the number of people in favor would definitely exceed 98%. Chairman Xia, if Ling Hao replaces Mu Jianfeng's position, who do you think will be the first person he will deal with? Yi Kuan looked at Charlotte and asked tentatively. Charlotte didn't even think about it and said, "The first person he will deal with is you." Yi Kuan didn't have any reaction. It could be seen that he already had an answer in his heart before he asked this question. What he wanted was a guarantee from Charlotte. Charlotte really gave him what he wanted. But don't worry, old Yi. Look at those people who follow me. They're all doing well. I am working for them. Rema Group has done so many things to build our country's national defense. We are positive energy. As long as you understand this, you will be much more at ease. Besides, Yu Shanha won't dare to do anything. It's not like we don't have people. A smile appeared on the corner of Yi Kuan's mouth. He knew who the person Charlotte was talking about was Fan Fan. That was a woman that even Yu Shanha was afraid of. Also, 101 Innings was obviously on Charlotte's side. He was not alone. With these people behind him, why would he be afraid of Ling Hao? While they were talking, a group of military representatives and leaders walked into the meeting. A face that had only been seen in the news appeared in Charlotte's sight. He was inexplicably nervous, but his heart was also full of respect. A military leader whispered something in that person's ear and raised his hand slightly to point in Charlotte's direction. That person then looked over and glanced at Charlotte. He even nodded slightly at Charlotte with a smile. That person's smile was dignified and warm, making people feel that he could not be offended, but it was also very kind. Although it was just a smile, to Charlotte, this smile was a kind of affirmation of his efforts. The sweat that he had shed was not in vain. Charlotte hurriedly stood up and nodded in return. There was no greeting because there was no need. After this group of people, Charlotte saw Fan Fan. Fan Fan wore a small black suit on her upper body. Her breasts were firm, and her small waist was slim and graceful. She wore a pair of black trousers on her lower body. Her buttocks filled the trousers to the brim, drawing a beautiful curve with her long legs. This outfit was a little old-fashioned, but it still could not hide her sexiness. She walked behind a group of dignified soldiers, just like a red rose stuck in the barrel of a gun. It was a very unique contrast. Fan Fan smiled at Charlotte and then walked over. "Hello, Chief Fan." Yi Kuan greeted. The smile on his face made him look very simple and honest. He was the kind of person that was harmless and honest. Fan Fan nodded. "Hello, Chairman Yi. You finally did the right thing." Yes. I will continue to work hard." Yi Kuan, of course, understood what Fan Fan meant. Fan Fan moved closer to Charlotte and said softly, "My relative is here again." Charlotte was slightly stunned. "Who is it?" Fan Fan rolled her eyes at Charlotte. "Are you playing dumb with me? The relative I'm talking about is that one. Do you understand?" Charlotte understood, but he was also speechless. He really did not expect that Fan Fan would talk to him about her period under such a solemn occasion. "What's the reason?" Fan Fan stared at Charlotte suspiciously. Why are you looking at me like that? Charlotte smiled bitterly. I really don't know. Moreover, this kind of thing still depends on God's will. Otherwise, why would there be so many people praying to Bodhisattva? But I'm anxious. Don't worry, don't worry. Charlotte comforted her. Fan Fan rolled her eyes at Charlotte again. You're not anxious at all. You just care about having fun. Charlotte was speechless. Let me tell you something serious. What is it? Will the Rema Group's new material come out? Charlotte said, it's not that easy. The European and American countries have been working on it for so many years and still haven't come up with it. You can't expect me to come up with it in 2 or 3 months. Let me tell you, didn't you get the fighter jet technology from France and Germany? Now the higher-ups have decided to research a new fighter jet that can be comparable to the Lockheed Martin Corporation's F-35 fighter jet. If you can provide that new material as soon as possible and apply it to the research and development of a new fighter jet, it will be a great thing for the country and the people. Fan Fan could not hide the excitement in her eyes. All right, I will speed up the progress. Charlotte said. Fan Fan said, you have to manage the Rema Group alone and be responsible for the X-Secret Gold project. Can you handle it? I have already proposed to the higher-ups to let my grandfather join your new material project. Charlotte smiled. That's a good thing. He is the top material scientist in our country. His students are all over the country. Also, the Academy of Science has research resources that Rema Group can't compare to. Old fans' participation will be a boost to the research of this new material. I welcome him to join us. He can come anytime. It would be a waste if he didn't have a new force that didn't need money. Then it's settled. I'll go now. Call me if you need anything. Fan Fan did not pester him and left. Charlotte watched her leave and sighed in his heart. The military application of artificial intelligence and the research and development of new materials. He believed that in 3 years, China's military level would surprise the world. But could he still see it? 3 years. This word was like a thorn in his heart. Every time he thought of it, it would sting him. It made him very uncomfortable and a little scared. Ling Hao shifted his gaze and secretly looked at Xia Lei with a sneer on his face. Chapter 832. The meeting was held separately. Fan Fan and the leaders went to another small conference room, but there was still an important leader and a few military representatives presiding over the meeting in this large venue. Those military representatives also had a lot of weight. The leader presiding over the meeting and a few military representatives spoke one after another. From time to time, there was a warm applause in the venue. The atmosphere was very lively. There were reporters in the venue, but they all stood far away, quietly recording videos. It was Charlotte's first time attending such a meeting. He was not used to the format and atmosphere. Fortunately, the leaders' speeches were over in an hour. What was left was the speech of the representatives of the military industry. The representatives of the military enterprises had prepared their speeches, and the contents of their speeches were formulaic, such as firm belief, overcoming difficulties, and so on. Then, what achievements they had achieved, and what they had to work harder in the future, and so on. Such a speech was the same. Listening to it was equivalent to not listening to it. Yi Kuan also prepared a speech, and there were several of them. Before it was his turn to speak, he had already read the speech over and over again 2 or 3 times. He looked a little nervous, but very serious. Very soon, it was Yi Kuan's turn to speak. However, he put away the speech script and spoke into the microphone. His expression was sometimes serious, sometimes passionate. It gave people the feeling that he was full of positive energy and the type that was immune to all kinds of poisons. But his speech was still the same, with almost no substantive content. Charlotte secretly knew in his heart. Although there was no difference from the other people's speech, Yi Kuan had memorized the content of the speech in advance. Speaking so passionately without a speech, it can be considered a kind of ability. This is probably the survival knowledge of people like him. People have to be good at something to live. After Yi Kuan finished speaking, no one applauded him. He sat down and reached out to wipe the fine sweat on his forehead. He didn't seem surprised that no one applauded him, but he was obviously more nervous than before. The leader presiding over the meeting said, "Let's invite the person in charge of the Shinjo Industry Group to speak." Ling Hao stood up, his face full of confidence. "Hello to this leader. Hello to all colleagues. I only represent the Shinjo Industry Group to express some of my views on the current situation." Ling Hao spoke with fervor and assurance, but Charlotte was shocked. Yi Kuan had just told him that Yu Shanhe wanted to help Ling Hao to replace Mu Jianfeng, but he did not expect that Ling Hao had become the person in charge of Shinjo Industrial Group. Yu Shanhe's speed was fast, and his energy was great. He had underestimated this point. The European and American powers have imposed a technological blockade on us, but our military manufacturing level is still steadily improving. The gap between us and the Europeans is getting smaller and smaller. This is inseparable from our efforts. Ling Hao's gaze shifted to Charlotte, and his words took a sharp turn. Our military industry doesn't need heroes. We need a solid foundation. What was a foundation? In my opinion, is the military industry of the countries represented by all of us here. Our military industry is the foundation of national defense. Although part of the military market had been opened up, it didn't mean that anyone could replace the country's military enterprises. Competition is a good thing. It can make the market more active, and it can also promote the scientific research investment of brother units. However, vicious competition should be stopped because it is not conducive to the development of the overall industry. Some companies have good technology, but they hide it, which is not conducive to the development of our country's military industry. Charlotte's brows slowly wrinkled. Ling Hao's speech did not mention Rema Group or Charlotte, but he knew that Ling Hao's speech was directed at him. If good technology was not shared, it would affect the development of the industry. Then what was the use of patent laws? Microsoft monopolized the entire operating system market, but Microsoft did not share the source code with its competitors, right? Apple was the world's largest mobile phone manufacturer. It had its own iOS system and tens of thousands of patented technologies, some of which were not even used. It did not share with Xiaomi, Huawei, or Meizu, right? However, such unreasonable words sounded righteous coming from Ling Hao's mouth. It was as if he was representing justice and the interests of the public. There was a round of applause. Ling Hao nodded to express his thanks, and then said, "Shinjo Industry Group is a big group, a national heavy industry. We are willing to shoulder the responsibility of the times and make due contributions to the revitalization of our country's military industry." Shinjo Industry Group has been working hard to complete the large orders of tanks, and we have also invested a lot of manpower and material resources in scientific research. The new generation of tank ZZ-100 project has also been launched. It will be the best tank in our country. This is a gift from all of us in Shinjo Industry Group to our motherland. It does not have a foreign trade model, and it only supplies our own army, unlike those over-market-oriented private companies, where all the good products are sold abroad. Of course, my words are not directed at anyone. I have finished my speech. Thank you. ZZ-100 main battle tank. Shinjo Industry Group actually launched a new tank project in this sensitive period, which was obviously aimed at Rema Group. There was another round of applause. Ling Hao took over Mu Jianfeng's position and became the new leader of that group. With Ling Hao's intelligence and skills, he must be more difficult to deal with than Mu Jianfeng. As a matter of fact, the first fire he started as soon as he came to power was aimed at Rema Group. However, in the face of such a situation, Charlotte's face showed a sunny smile. He thought to himself, "Things have already come to this, yet you still want to stop me. Your beliefs are really strong, but you seem to have forgotten what I mean to you by sitting here. Can anyone see it? I'm here, not because the wolf is here, but because my era is coming, not yours. I'm the main character of this era." Sometimes it was like this. The truth was in front of them, and they could see it when they looked up, but many people would be blinded by interests and all kinds of temptations. They couldn't see it, and they didn't want to see it. The leader who presided over the meeting said, "Let's welcome Mr. Charlotte, the legal representative of Rema Group, to speak." All eyes were focused on Charlotte. Yi Kuan, who was sitting next to Charlotte, was inexplicably nervous. He saw that Charlotte stood up, but didn't even have a draft. He said subconsciously, "Chairman Xia, why didn't you even prepare a draft for such an important meeting?" Charlotte picked up the microphone on the table and said in a calm tone, "Hello, leaders and colleagues. I just want to say a few words on behalf of Rema Group. It's my first time to attend such an important meeting. If there's anything wrong, please forgive me." Many people showed a contemptuous and arrogant look. Charlotte pretended not to see it and went on, "I'm not very good at talking, but I'm a person who can do things. Rema Group has developed from a small workshop on the street to what it is today. The employees of Rema Group and I have walked step by step very firmly. Our weapons are the same. From the XL 2500 sniper rifle to the Gale assault rifle, to the Hellhound artillery, to the Scavenger infantry fighting vehicle, we build the most advanced weapons in the world. I can proudly say that the military giants in Europe and the United States can't compare to us in terms of the comprehensive performance of similar products and even the price-performance ratio. In the past, we even needed to import parts for finishing. But now, Europe and the United States are jealous of our Rema Group's Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tools. Rema Group's weapons and Rema Group's 2 generations of Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tools were even envied by Europe and the United States. This was an ironclad fact. Charlotte used his weapon technology and intelligent machine tools to exchange for Germany's Typhoon fighter engine technology and conventional submarine technology, as well as France's Rafale fighter avionics technology. Although it couldn't be made public due to the special nature of the method, no one could erase his contributions. Clap, clap, clap. The leader who presided over the meeting applauded Charlotte. There was no applause at first, but with the leader applauding, the applause suddenly became enthusiastic. However, many people were unwilling to do so. Charlotte was showing off his contributions in front of everyone, and what he said was the truth. Not to mention applauding him, they even wanted to give him a few slaps. In fact, the leader's applause was actually a very obvious signal. It was just that many people still couldn't see it because of their interests and various other reasons. They also didn't want to see it. Thank you, thank you. Charlotte appeared to be very polite. Rema Group is a private enterprise, but it is also an enterprise of this country. It produces weapons for the military, and our soldiers can use the world's best weapons. It exports weapons and earns real money in foreign exchange. In the past, we bought them, but they didn't sell them when we offered high price. But now, they are buying them at a high price. What does this mean? We have become strong, and our time has come. I boldly say that Rema Group actually doesn't have a distinction between public and private enterprises. It just followed the trend of this era and accidentally became the protagonist of this era. The originally quiet venue was suddenly filled with the sounds of discussion. Buzz, buzz, buzz. No one thought that Charlotte would be so arrogant, but he was so arrogant. A private military enterprise wanted to become the protagonist of this era. Perhaps only he, Xiaolei, would dare to say such big words. This time, no one applauded. Charlotte coughed dryly. "I'm not showing off. I just want to take this opportunity to speak my mind. I am confident that I can build Rema Group into our country's Lockheed Martin Corporation, and my strength alone is obviously not enough. I need more support and trust, not exclusion, not suppression." "Hey, Mr. Xiao, what do you mean by that? Yu Shanha couldn't hold it in. Yes, your words are hurtful. How can he talk like that? A private enterprise is a private enterprise. He doesn't understand the rules at all. What does he think he's having a meeting?" Charlotte ignored these voices. The venue was not quiet. His voice was much louder. "I'm not targeting anyone. I'm just telling the truth. The export orders for the Scavenger IFV of the Thunder Horse military factory have been lined up for a year, but the best domestic version has yet to receive an order. Can anyone here give me an answer?" Whoosh, the whole venue quieted down. Yi Kuan had originally calmed down and was secretly praising Charlotte's eloquence. But when Charlotte suddenly said such a thing, cold sweat appeared on his forehead again. Chapter 833. The bird that sticks out will be shot. This was an old saying, and many people believed in its truth. Charlotte was now like the bird that stuck out. and he could be shot by the hunter at any time. You, a private enterprise, can't sell your own products, but you want people here to give you an explanation. Who will give you an explanation? Who owes you an explanation? In terms of status on paper, who's sitting here at the meeting is not a level higher than you. This was what Yi Kuan was worried and afraid about. What worried him even more was that Charlotte, on such an occasion, first announced in an extremely high-profile manner that Rema Group's weapons were the world's most advanced weapons. The export model's orders had been lined up for a year, but the best domestic model had not yet received orders. Wasn't it clear that someone was playing tricks? Wasn't it insinuating that the people involved were indifferent? However, something that even Yi Kuan could understand, Xia Lei couldn't. At this time, he was like a young man who had just come out of school and was full of ideals, but he didn't understand the real world at all. He was not mature at all. Some people sneered, waiting to see a good show. Yu Shanha looked at Charlotte coldly. Others thought Charlotte was stupid, but he could see that Charlotte was shooting at him. Mr. Xia, Ling Hao said, I don't agree with what you said. We are all in the military, and we all know that replacing heavy equipment in the army is a very important matter. First, a comprehensive evaluation must be completed, and then the issue of replacing the heavy equipment will be discussed, which also takes time. As far as our Xinzhou Industrial Group is concerned, which vehicle we designed and produced did not enter the army after a few years or even a decade. Your scavenger IFV may be excellent, but you are too impatient. We need a few years or even a decade to finish the road. Do you want to finish it in a few months? There was another round of discussion in the hall. The leader who presided over the meeting also whispered with several military representatives. Yu Shanha, who was also at the host's seat, was silent. He looked at Charlotte with eyes full of hatred. In Yu Shanha's view, this was no longer a meeting but a battlefield. On one side of this battlefield was the army, but on the other side was a lone knight full of heroism and his cunning attendant. The contrast of strength was simply incomparable, but this knight launched an attack against the army with the momentum of breaking through the south wall. Mr. Xia, Ling Hao looked at Charlotte. You are the first private business owner to enter the military market, and the support for you is unprecedented. You should be grateful. Don't complain because of some necessary procedures. Personally, I am very disappointed and even bitterly disappointed by what you said. His words were just short of ungrateful. Yes, does he think the market revolves around him? Which of our weapons didn't go through evaluation time and time again before we finally got the order? This person really doesn't know what's good for him. I've given him more support than anyone else, yet he's still saying this. I heard that the country waived more than 20 billion yuan of loans for him. Isn't this support enough? He's still not satisfied. Isn't he too greedy? An ungrateful wolf like him should be driven out of the military industry. Ever since he appeared, the previous atmosphere of unity has disappeared. To put it bluntly, he's the snail that fell into a pot of soup. Snail? I think it's rat shit. These remarks made Yu Shanha reveal a smile. Yi Kuan quietly reached out and pulled on Charlotte's trousers, motioning him to sit down and stop talking. Charlotte stood straight, like a bronze statue in the venue, cold and hard. Mr. Xia, Ling Hao continued to challenge Charlotte. I think you misunderstood. It's not that someone is unfair to you. It's that you're asking too much of yourself. Everything has a process that requires 10 steps. You can't expect to complete it in one step, can you? If you complete it in one step, isn't it unfair to those of us who took 10 steps to complete the process? Mr. Xia, do you think I'm right? Everyone was watching. Xia Lei chuckled. Not right. Ling Hao also smiled. Then tell me, what's wrong with what I said? Charlotte said, all wrong. Ling Hao frowned, and his eyes were cold. Charlotte said, I'll give you an example. I compare our military industry to a football world. I'm Ronaldo, Messi, and Suarez. I should play for Real Madrid or Barcelona. But you want me to start from the Chinese League Championship or even the Serie B team, step by step, to the same league as you. This is indeed fair to you, but is it right? There was another round of discussion in the venue. Charlotte ignored those voices. The international environment has changed. The United States and its allies are aggressive and have set up many obstacles on our way to rise. I have the ability to shorten the gap between our military industry and that of Europe and the United States, or even surpass them, so that their military force can no longer threaten us. I'm the best star player in the world. I can win the Asian Cup, the Club World Cup, and even the World Cup for the team. Why do you want me to start from the lower league? By the time I reach the same level as you, I'll have passed the peak of my career. What I want is a channel to the world's top competition. My opponent is Rheinmetall, Lockheed Martin Corporation, not you here. Charlotte finished. How arrogant. Young people are too arrogant. Comparing Lima Group to Lockheed Martin, he really has the nerve to say that. They only have an F-35, and Lima Group probably won't be able to build it even after 50 years, right? He's really bragging. Isn't he ashamed? The leader who supported the meeting raised his hand and said lightly, Mr. Xia, I agree with part of what you said, but there are also parts that I don't agree with. You are capable, but don't make it special. We are a group, and we have a common mission, that is to build the country's national defense. Under this premise, we can't make any special channels. But you said that your opponent is Rheinmetall, Lockheed Martin Corporation. I personally admire you very much. Young people should have such great ambitions. I'm optimistic about you. As for the issues you raised, let's discuss them after the meeting. There was a burst of applause in the venue. This was an excuse to smooth things over, and it was also a hint that Charlotte needed to sit down after his speech. But Charlotte was still standing. Rema Group has launched the tank project and also launched the new material project, as well as the application of artificial intelligence to the military. These projects, no matter which one, have huge strategic benefits. I personally don't care about money and honor. I can wait, but can the strategic interests of the country wait? I'll tell you the truth. Some departments and people in the United States and Japan have plans to assassinate me because I have affected their strategic interests. Do I have to wait for the Americans and Japanese to succeed before they give me such a channel? The leader who presided over the meeting was stunned for a moment. He was not disgusted with Charlotte's high profile, but he wondered why a smart person like Charlotte did not make such a request in private. But on such an occasion, no matter what the request was, what the purpose was, wasn't it inappropriate or even stupid to put himself in the crosshairs of the public? Charlotte, Yu Shanha finally spoke, and his words were fierce. Don't go too far. Everything has a process, and everyone goes through it. Why do you want to be special? You are talented, but you can't be proud of your talent. I don't mean anything else. Yu Shanha interrupted Charlotte's words. I don't care what you mean. If you have something to say, talk to me later. It's not right for you to take up the time for others to speak. Sit down. I'll talk to you after the meeting. Everyone in the meeting thought that Charlotte was being silly, but only Yu Shanha's palms were covered in cold sweat. Charlotte was pestering him endlessly. In fact, there was only one purpose, and that was to bypass the obstacles he had set up, or even put him in danger. With the merits that Charlotte had, who could do anything to him? Also, of the 3 projects that Charlotte was working on, which one of them was not related to the strategic interests of the country? Based on these 2 points, no one could really do anything to Charlotte for saying and doing such things on such an occasion. If someone were to be questioned and punished, it would definitely not be Charlotte, but Yu Shanha. This was the terrifying thing about Charlotte. He fired the most appropriate shot at the most appropriate place. At first, Yu Shanha did not feel anything, but when Charlotte did not even give face to the leader who presided over the meeting, he suddenly realized that danger was coming. This was also the reason why he did not want Charlotte to continue. He had to shut Charlotte up, but Charlotte did not shut up. I have a good project and the ability to change the situation, but my strength alone is limited. I need more support, and I don't have time to waste on the so-called process. Charlotte, Yu Shanha could no longer control his emotions and slammed the table. Why can't you understand what I said? I told you to talk to me after the meeting. Charlotte said lightly, I won't talk to you because I don't believe you. Since he had chosen to shoot on this occasion, he could not leave any leeway. If he lost this opportunity, It would be difficult to find it again in the future. Yushanha looked at the security personnel at the door. His eyes were a hint. Several security personnel walked in the direction of Charlotte. But at this moment, a person came out a small door. It was none other than Fan Fan. Fan Fan walked directly in front of Charlotte and put a note on the table. Charlotte glanced at it. The content of the note was very simple. There was only one sentence: "Go ahead and do it." A smile suddenly appeared at the corner of Charlotte's mouth, and the pressure on his body suddenly disappeared. Fan Fan moved closer to Charlotte's ear and whispered, "You really dare to say it. You use your head to break through the obstacles set for you by some people. But I like your personality and courage." Charlotte smiled. Fan Fan's voice became lower. "You just do what you have to do, and someone will handle the rest. No one can hinder the progress of this country. No one. Whoever stands in the way will be crushed. Do you understand?" Charlotte nodded. He knew very well that he had shot and wounded the target. "Well, let's continue the meeting. I will come to you with the order tonight," Fan Fan said. "Charlotte." Fan Fan turned and left. She glanced at the security personnel, who had stopped when she came out of the small door. Charlotte sat down and relaxed. However, Yushana could not relax. He was completely unaware that cold sweat had already appeared on his forehead. Chapter 834. The night sky was clear. The night wind shook the treetops, making a rustling sound. In the room of Ping and residence, Charlotte grabbed the alloy pendant on his neck. He had a lot of thoughts. What happened in New Delhi appeared in his mind again. On the rooftop of that building, the black-robed man had subdued him and grabbed the alloy pendant on his neck. He thought the black-robed man's goal was to take it away, but he didn't expect the man to just look at it and put it down. He even said something strange to him. He said, "No wonder you still have a little left." This was not the first time Charlotte thought about this sentence, but he still couldn't figure out what the black-robed man meant. He obviously knows about the existence of the AE capsule, and he seems to know that I have eaten the AE capsule. He said that. Is he hinting me to eat the last one? This was not the first time this thought appeared in his mind. He had to think about this question. The cruel truth was, although his brain and body had evolved to the height that ordinary people had to look up to, it was nothing compared to the black-robed man. And what made him even more desperate was that he couldn't even beat Zhu Xianyue, whose mind was less than 10 years old. This cruel truth led to another, even crueler truth, which was that if the black-robed man really wanted to kill him, he wouldn't be able to fight back in 3 years. So, should he eat the last AE capsule? Let his body evolve and increase his strength. A few minutes later, Charlotte somehow opened the alloy pendant, and the AE capsule was somehow brought to his mouth. In a desperate situation, a person's strongest desire was to become stronger and overcome all difficulties. He was no exception. The pressure from the black-robed man, the CIB, the FA organization, the Hattori family, and even the domestic pressure gathered together. These pressures exploded tonight, making his desire to become stronger than ever. It seemed like he was about to break through all the obstacles and put the last AE capsule in his mouth. A voice suddenly sounded in his mind. It was his own voice. "Wait," giving me unprecedented pressure, forcing me into a desperate situation, but not taking away the thing that can make me stronger. His goal, is it to make me eat the last AE capsule? The voice calmed him down. He said the answer is with me. Could it be the result of eating the last AE capsule? He thought to himself. At this thought, he broke out in a cold sweat. The sound of footsteps and voices came from outside the door. "Chief Fan, wait a moment. I'll go tell our chairman Xia. Maybe he's sleeping." This was Lu Sheng's voice. Yelena and Erdamu had both participated in the operation in Siberia, and they were already dead. The 4 women from the night's hospitaler were still here, so they could not appear in the Peace House at all. The security of Peace Lodge fell on Lu Sheng's shoulders. No, you can go back. I'm here to talk to your chairman Xia about business. If he's asleep, I'll just wait for him for a while. Fan Fan's voice was heard. Don't worry about that. Go. Fan Fan urged. All right then, I'm leaving. Lu Sheng said that, but then he said loudly, Chairman Xia, Chief Fan is looking for you. Inside the house, Charlotte had already placed the last AE capsule into the alloy pendant. Knock, knock, knock. The sound of knocking came from the door. Coming, coming. Charlotte got up to open the door. Although it was already late autumn, Fanfan's clothes were pitifully few. She was wearing a long black dress that left her shoulders bare. The deep V-shaped collar revealed a large area of snow-white skin, and the deep cleavage between her breasts was so deep that the bottom could not be seen. It quietly exuded a seductive scent. A slender waist and a perky but suddenly bulged, propping up the fabric and also propping up the desire and temptation. The full and round shape could not help but make people fantasize. What was even more outrageous was that she only had this skin-tight dress on her body because there was no sign of underwear under the fabric. In order to highlight the beautiful lines of her figure, she had also gone all out. Why? Aren't you going to invite me in? Fan rolled her eyes at Charlotte. She seemed a little cold and did not want to stand outside. Charlotte stepped aside for her and scolded her. You're really something. The weather is so cold, and yet you're wearing so little. Aren't you afraid of catching a cold? Fan casually poured the briefcase in her hand onto Charlotte's bed and then looked at him. Her big black eyes could not hide the joy in them. Didn't I do this to seduce you? Her words were so straightforward that Charlotte did not know how to respond. But you have to say I did wear the wrong clothes today. I didn't expect it to be so cold outside. I'll go to your bed to warm it for a while, okay? Charlotte was speechless. Without waiting for Charlotte to say anything, Fan took off her high heels and climbed into his bed. Then she curled her lips. Why is it cold? Forget it. I'll help you warm your bed. Open the briefcase. There's what you want inside. Charlotte opened her briefcase and took out a few documents. One of these documents was the order for the scavenger IFE that he wanted, and it was a big order. 1,000? This number shocked Charlotte. What? Didn't you want an order? I got it for you, but what's with your expression? Fan said mischievously. Charlotte smiled bitterly. The number in my mind was 100 or 200, at most 500, but I didn't expect it to be 1,000. You know, Rema Group's production capacity is limited. I'm a little worried. Can't eat it? This is the first batch. There'll be more later. Fan said. 1,000 IFVs. This is the rhythm of replacing armored vehicles. After a pause, Charlotte suddenly grinned and said, Even if you can't eat it, you have to eat it. I'll find a way to solve the problem of production capacity. That's right. Fan's eyes flashed with excitement. You're a person who does big things. Your courage is what I'm most fascinated by. A man needs to have courage like you. I like a man with courage like you. Charlotte avoided her man-eating gaze and flipped through the other documents. The rest of the documents weren't orders, but actual preferential policies. It involved talents, funds, and policy support. The strength was unprecedented. In short, with these documents, he could borrow as much money as he wanted from a bank. He could recruit talents from any university he wanted. And most importantly, any weapon produced by Rema Group, whether it was an export model or a domestic model, no matter the quantity, would no longer need to go through the department led by Yushanha. This wasn't opening a green channel for him. It was simply opening a runway for him. This kind of support didn't let him sprint, but let him fly. The documents that Fan brought were obviously real. There was no doubt about this, but Charlotte couldn't believe it. What do you want to say? Fan said with a smile. Charlotte sighed. I've dreamed of getting these, but now that I've got them, I can't believe they're real. Go ahead and do it. With the support of the country, you can do as much as you can. I know your dream is to build Rema Group into a world-class super arms giant like Lockheed Martin Corporation. This is an opportunity to realize your dream. She was even more excited. Thank you. Although you didn't say how these documents came about, I know you paid a price for them. Charlotte's eyes were very gentle. Then how are you going to thank me? What do you want? You know what I want. That. Didn't you come for that? What did I come for? Fan tilted her slender, white, jade-like neck, looking confused. That. What's that? Charlotte, this wasn't a tongue twister, but a naked provocation. What I told you was yesterday. My body is already clean. I even took a bath before coming to your place, and it took me half an hour to bathe. My body smells so good. If you don't believe me, you can smell it. She lifted the blanket, and a soft hand grabbed the black dress and gently pulled it up. The black fabric slowly slid up against the black stockings, and a pair of straight and slender legs were revealed little by little. Her movements, her legs, all of them stirred up people's hearts. I need to go to the washroom first. Charlotte left as if he was escaping. In the washroom, he took out the bottle of antidote from a drawer. But when he unscrewed the cap, he hesitated again. 3 years. If I only have 3 years left, do I have to leave alone? She wants a child of mine, and I also need an heir to inherit my career. Why should I use this? Not only Fan, but also Rui. If I really leave this world, she will be alone. If she has a child, she will feel better. Thinking of this, he poured the bottle of antidote into the toilet. When he threw the glass bottle into the trash can, his heart seemed to have thrown away a stone and became relaxed. If I only have 3 years left to live, why not live a vigorous life? From now on, I can do whatever I want. Screw the ancient alloy. Screw the black robe man. Screw the worldliness and prejudice. Leaving the washroom, a black shadow flew toward him, but he didn't avoid it because it was Fan's dress. The black dress covered his face, and it really smelled good, but it also had a strange smell, and he knew that it was the smell of the antidote developed by Fan. He reached out and took off the dress, covering his head, and then walked toward her. Curled up in the quilt, she was very white and tender, so white and tender that it seemed like a breath of hot air would melt her. However, in the end, it wasn't a delicate and powerless woman who was melted, but a vigorous man. Fan, can you give me some of your antidote? This is for me, not for you. What do you want it for? Under the quilt, Fan stared at Charlotte and used her legs to press him down. Charlotte chuckled. I will take it to study it. Maybe I can improve it and increase the success rate. Do you think I will believe you? I know how much hair you have on your body. Oomph. Do you think I don't know that you want to use my medicine on another woman? Charlotte said awkwardly. What kind of person do you think I am? Am I that narrow-minded? Oomph. Do you really want it? Yeah, just give me a little. Then I will use all of it tonight. Charlotte, without waiting for him to explain further, she had already climbed on top of him. Is there any reasonable woman in this world? Chapter 835. The first rays of dawn dyed White's tag like a painting. Let's go back. You're feeling rather weak, Fan said as she kissed Charlotte. Remember to get Chef to buy you some tonics. Because of that, Charlotte's hair became disheveled. It had nothing to do with the wind. After breakfast, Xiaolei arrived at the Thunder Horse Army factory. The first thing he did was to summon all the senior staff to his multi-purpose conference room. Not only the senior personnel in the Thunder Horse military factory, but also the senior personnel of Haizhu and the sub-bases in Sichuan joined the meeting through online video. Xiaolei showed the huge order of 1,000 scavenger IFVs and the documents that Fan had given him last night, one by one, and passed them around. The intervention of the nation was an unprecedented support and a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He had to let everyone in the Thunder Horse group know about such an important matter because it was time for all the Thunder Horse people to create their own era. In the meeting room, Charlotte swept his gaze across the familiar faces. His expression was solemn and his eyes were resolute. The intervention of the nation is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We have to grasp it. This isn't about how much money we make. It's about whether our military industry can rise again. I believe all of you understand the burden and responsibility on our shoulders. Not everyone has such an opportunity. I hope that when you grow old, you'll be proud of what you've done today. Your descendants will be proud of what you've done. Chairman Xia, you don't have to cheer us on. We're willing to follow you. Yes, we'll do whatever you want us to do. Chairman Xia, we'll follow you and do something great. We'll show the Americans and Japanese our strength. Yes. We've been locked away by the Americans and Europeans for decades. They even mocked us for only making socks and shirts. I've been holding back this anger for decades. This time, I'll definitely let it all out. Chairman Xia will follow you. The people in the meeting room were excited. All of the Re-Horse members were rubbing their palms, and their morale was high. Charlotte could easily gather his people together. This was not something that could be done overnight. It had to be accumulated bit by bit. He never mistreated his employees, and his prestige in the professional field was unparalleled. Using carrot and stick at the same time was the power tactics of the ancient emperors. Charlotte was the king of the Rema group. He never specialized in power tactics, but his power tactics came naturally. After explaining the situation and boosting their morale, Charlotte then made the relevant arrangements. Huang Shuwen, you're in charge of the artificial intelligence. If you don't have enough money, I'll give you more. If you don't have enough people, I'll give you more. In short, you have to apply artificial intelligence technology to our production line and our weapon system. No problem, Chairman Xia. Huang Shuwen answered very straightforwardly and confidently. In fact, the artificial intelligence technology that Charlotte gave him had already laid a good foundation for him. This meant that Charlotte had given him enough bricks and cement. He only needed to use the bricks and cement that Charlotte had given him to build his house. And this was exactly what he was good at. Charlotte's gaze shifted to Sylvia and Anina. Sylvia, Anina, both of you are the chief engineers of the Rema Group. The development of the tank will be handed over to you. Can you make the best tank? Anina smiled. I repaired tanks in Germany. I can dismantle the Leopard 2 tank into parts and assemble it. Sylvia stared at Charlotte. I specialize in processing precision parts. All of Rainmetal's precision parts come from my workshop. I have the world's best smart machine tool here. If Anina and I work together, we can build a tank that's even more advanced than the Leopard 2. In fact, not only did Anina have the entire structure of the Leopard 2 tank in her head, but Charlotte had also stolen the related technology when he was at Rainmetal. When the three of them combined what they had mastered, it was the most advanced tank technology in the world. Coupled with the upgrade of Charlotte's superbrain, the technology wasn't a problem. The only problem was how to combine those technologies and build a tank that belonged to the Rema Group. And this was only a matter of time. Charlotte smiled. The tank workshop is yours. I'll give you whatever you need. I only have one request. Let me see our own tank as soon as possible. Sylvia and Anina looked at each other with a smile on their lips and a strange look in their eyes. Charlotte seemed to realize that he had given the wrong hint. He then shifted his gaze to a monitor. Lingshan, Little Red, you guys are the base for manufacturing parts. Your roles are very important. Immediately start the plan to expand production. If you need manpower, ask the local government for help. If you need money, I'll fully support you. On the monitor, Guan Lingshan and Zhou Xiaohong, who attended the meeting via video call, replied together, "No problem, Chairman Xia." The arrangements were carried out one by one. Each of the senior executives of the Rema Group had their own tasks. After they left, they would mobilize their subordinates. In short, in the face of this historical opportunity, every Rema person was the main character in creating a new era. The meeting lasted for a full 2 hours before it ended. Charlotte returned to his office and sat for a few minutes before heading to the on-call lounge. The on-call lounge was specially prepared for Qin Kaiwei. Now, it had become the place where Qin Kaiwei taught Zhu Xianyue etiquette. The meeting just now was very important, but Qin Kaiwei didn't attend it. This was also the reason why Charlotte wanted to come and take a look. He had asked Qin Kaiwei to attend the meeting previously, but for some reason, she didn't attend. When he arrived at the door of the lounge, he heard voices coming from inside. Squat down. I told you to squat down. Bark like a dog. Woof woof. Woof woof. Roll on the ground. Woof woof. What's going on? Charlotte was stunned on the spot. He had asked Qin Kaiwei to teach Zhu Xianyue etiquette so that she could behave normally to the greatest extent possible. This way, it could also avoid unnecessary suspicion. However, based on the conversation he had heard, how was this teaching etiquette? It was simply taming a beast. Moreover, The beast tamer wasn't Qin Kaiwei, but Zhu Xianwei. The scolding voice he heard was all Zhu Xuanyue's voice, and the sound of barking like a dog was actually Qin Saiyue's voice. Good girl, open your mouth. I'll give you a biscuit. Woof woof. He, my good dog. Raise your butt. I want to spank your butt. Woof woof, woof woof. Papa. The sound of someone slapping his butt. Charlotte couldn't hold it in anymore. He pushed the door open. The scene in the room was like a frozen cold current blowing past. His entire body froze. In his line of sight, Zhu Xianyue was sitting on the sofa with her legs crossed, holding a feather duster in her hand. Meanwhile, Qin Kaiwei was lying on the ground with her, but raised. Her super short office lady skirt exposed of blue silk scenery. It was an alluring scenery, but Charlotte wasn't in the mood to look at it. His heart was filled with surprise and curiosity. What's going on? Uncle Xia. Zhu Xianyue stood up from the sofa. She seemed to have realized something and hid the feather duster behind her. However, the strange thing was that Charlotte had clearly entered the room and even spoken, but Qin Kaiwei was still kneeling on the ground. Not only did she not greet Charlotte, she didn't even show any signs of getting up. Charlotte was about to ask, but he changed his mind. He smiled and said, "What game are you guys playing? Can I join?" Uncle Xia, do you want to play too? Zhu Xianyue suddenly became excited. Charlotte walked in front of Qin Kaiwei. Yeah, I want to play too. As he spoke, he observed Qin Kaiwei. He noticed that Qin Saiyue's eyes were empty. She was like a puppet without a soul. His heart was suddenly filled with fear because he suddenly thought of Peaceful. Peaceful had been like this when she was hospitalized in the sanatorium. Zhu Xianyue reached out her hand and slapped Qin Saiyue's butt. Then she said, "Good dog, bark for Uncle Xia." Qin Kaiwei raised her head and barked at Charlotte. "Woof, woof. Is she good?" Zhu Xianyue said proudly. Charlotte's face turned serious. "What did you do to her?" "No, I didn't do anything. I just played a game with her." Zhu Xianyue looked very nervous. "You want her to become a dog, and she becomes a dog? What did you do?" Charlotte pretended to be angry. "Tell me how you did it. Otherwise, I will ignore you." Tell me, don't be so fierce." Zhu Xianyue hesitated before saying, "I can talk to her inside her body and make her listen to me." Charlotte was shocked. His first thought was hypnosis, but this was clearly not hypnosis. There was no hypnotist in the world who could hypnotize a person's soul. At most, they could control a person's thoughts. They needed a lot of help, such as drugs and props, and the time was very short. "I can also make her become a cat. Do you want to see?" Zhu Xianyue interrupted Charlotte's thoughts. Charlotte thought about it. "Can you make me become a dog?" This was a bit risky, but if he wanted to understand how she did it, he had to experience it himself. However, Zhu Xianyue shook her head. "You can't do it. I can't do it." Charlotte was surprised. "Why?" Zhu Xianyue pointed to her own head. "The you inside your body is too strong. I can't convince you. It's okay. You can try." Charlotte was very curious. "Okay, I will try." Zhu Xianyue moved in front of Charlotte and stared at him, but she didn't speak. But her eyes became strange. The color deepened instantly. In the blink of an eye, it was so dark that it seemed to be soaked in ink. It seemed to be slowly rotating. It gave people the feeling that it was not eyes, but two deep black holes. Facing this pair of strange eyes, Charlotte felt like he was being pulled by something and was about to fall into a black hole. He seemed to hear something vaguely. The voice was murmuring, and he couldn't hear what it said. But in his heart, he had an urge to listen to the voice, and his brain was getting more and more dizzy. At that moment, his brain suddenly released the mysterious energy that was lurking in his brain. It was also in that instant that he came to his senses. Zhu Xuanyue's eyes returned to normal. She looked unhappy. "I knew it wouldn't work, but you didn't believe me." "Let her return to normal," Charlotte said. He thought Zhu Xianyue was going to do something, but Qin Kaiwei, who had been kneeling on the ground, suddenly woke up. Why did I fall?" Qin Kaiwei looked surprised. Charlotte sighed. Maybe the floor was slippery. You don't have to teach her etiquette in the future. If she continued teaching, Qin Kaiwei might become the next Peaceful. Chapter 836. New funds, talents from all over the country, and even professionals transferred from Hanwha Weapons Company, poured into Rima Group like a river. Huge funds and a huge talent system injected a strong momentum into the Lima Group. Every day, every hour, and even every second, it was changing and becoming stronger and stronger. If Rima Group was compared to a computer, then Charlotte was undoubtedly the computer CPU. A huge amount of funds and a huge talent system were operating in an orderly manner under his management. He also joined in on the technical problems. The things he installed in his brain also produced chemical reactions after a period of fermentation and precipitation. During his time in Germany, he used his brain to install almost the entire Rheinmetall company. Not only the technology of tanks, fighting vehicles, artillery, and defense systems, but even the layout of the workshops, buildings, and machines, related electrical engineering, and so on. He installed this factory in his brain, and now he added the artificial intelligence technology obtained from the Hattori family, as well as some technology obtained during the Villepinte International Army Weapons Exhibition in Paris. The huge amount of content mixed together, but his brain was still able to sort it out, remove the dross, and leave the essence. Then, the essence evolved again, becoming more advanced and more accurate technology. Then, the things dug out from his brain flowed continuously to the various departments and workshops of Rima Group. For Rima Group, Charlotte was not only the leader, but also the nutrient base that delivered nourishment. In the blink of an eye, Sir Boren's 60th birthday arrived. Before going, Charlotte imagined that the birthday party would be held in a big hotel with a lot of guests. However, when he arrived, he realized that it was not like that. Sir Boren's birthday party was held in a remote resort. Moreover, it was not a star-rated resort. It was just an ordinary resort in the mountains. Apart from the scenery, there was nothing else to recommend it. After getting out of the car, Charlotte, who was dressed in a suit and leather shoes, carried a gift box. Tang Yuyan, who was dressed like a famous lady of the Republic of China in a navy blue Cheongsam, held Charlotte's hand intimately. The two walked together like a golden boy and jade girl. The perfect couple attracted many envious gazes. However, there were also hateful gazes. Liang Xiao was one of them. Does she really think she's Charlotte's girlfriend? Liang Xiao frowned and said to Long Bing. Long Bing's face was expressionless as she said indifferently, "I'm afraid that's not all. She must have treated her as Charlotte's fiancée." "How shameless," Liang Xiao said. For the sake of the person they love, for the rest of their lives, women can really be shameless sometimes, Long Bing said in a calm tone. Liang Xiao looked at Long Bing and asked tentatively, "Don't you mind at all?" Long Bing shrugged. "Why would I mind? You're asking for trouble." Liang Xiao was speechless. Her heart was full of bitterness, but she had no one to talk to. Life was so strange. You didn't cherish what you had, and when you lost it, it was too late to regret. If she didn't have a choice back then, how could there be Shinda Tianyin in the past and Tang Yuyan now? You're not the only one regretting it, Long Bing said indifferently. Now that Charlotte is our national treasure, Rima Group has also become a major project supported by the country, and Rima Group's interests have become the country's strategic interests. Rima Group's assets have already surpassed Wanxiang Group, and the Shinta family's woman is the one regretting it the most. Liang Xiao snorted. She's too smart. If she had given up on Wanxiang Group and moved into Rima Group, there wouldn't be Tang Yuyan. The Tang family also saw the political capital and assets on Charlotte, and that's why they forced Tang Yuyan into Charlotte's bed, right? The so-called Tang family is just a group of powerful people. The Tang sect in Shu has existed for hundreds of years, and they naturally have their own rules and means of survival. Long Bing said softly, "You're Charlotte's first girlfriend. Don't you know his weakness?" "His weakness?" Liang Xiao looked at Long Bing curiously. "He won't refuse people, especially women." Liang Xiao smiled bitterly. Indeed, Long Bing saw through it. She had to admit it. Charlotte was actually very kind. He would never hurt people who were good to him, especially women. He had forgiven her and Shinda Tianyin for what they had done to him. How many men in this world could have such a heart? Tang Yuyin and Charlotte walked over. Charlotte felt rather awkward. Tang Yuyin was holding his arm so intimately in front of his two lovers. What was going on? He didn't think much of Long Bing because he knew her well. She didn't care about such things. But Liang Xiao was different. She was a woman who got jealous easily. Despite the awkwardness, he still had to greet her. Charlotte forced a smile. You came earlier than I did. Long Bing nodded slightly. Liang Xiao smiled at Charlotte. I didn't have any missions today, so I came here early. I wanted to go to White's Tag to get you, but Boss sure told me and Frosty to come here to help, so I didn't come. Charlotte didn't know what to say. Tang Yuyin smiled sweetly. Frosty, Xiao, do you think the cheap how I'm wearing looks good? Does it match Charlotte's suit? Long Bing didn't say anything and only looked at her. Liang Xiao shook her head. It doesn't. Tang Yuyin's smile disappeared in an instant. Liang Xiao smiled. How does a cheap how match a suit? Tang Yuyin smirked. Leicester, do you think it looks good? Charlotte felt a headache coming on. How could a man interfere when women were fighting over a man's affections? If he said it didn't look good, Tang Yuyin definitely wouldn't be happy. If he said it looked good, Liang Xiao definitely wouldn't be happy. Regardless of whether they were happy or not, he wouldn't feel comfortable being stuck in the middle. Just as Charlotte was wondering how to deal with the fight between Liang Xiao and Tang Yuyin, another group of people entered the resort. It was Yushanha and Ling Hao. Charlotte took the opportunity to change the subject. Why are they here? Did Boss sure invite them? I don't know. I'll ask my godfather later, Tang Yuyin said. Long Bing said, Leicester, come to me later. I have something to tell you. Okay. Charlotte didn't ask what it was and agreed immediately. At this time, Yushanha and Ling Hao came over. Both of them were empty-handed and didn't bring any gifts. Chairman Xia. Ling Hao smiled and greeted him. You've been on a roll recently. You've achieved great success in your career, and you've won a beauty. You and Miss Tang look like a perfect match when you stand together. Hearing such compliments from Ling Hao's mouth, Charlotte was stunned for a moment. He thought to himself, what's wrong with this guy today? That was what he thought in his heart, but Xia Lei ignored him. Tang Yuyin was very happy. Seeing that Charlotte didn't say anything, she didn't say anything. She just looked at Ling Hao and Yu Shanhe and didn't even greet them. She seemed to have entered the role of Charlotte's woman. Both Ling Hao and Yu Shanhe were Charlotte's opponents. Of course, she had to treat them from Charlotte's standpoint. What's wrong? Ling Hao shrugged and said with a smile. Can't we even say hello now? We're just business competitors. We're not enemies. Yes, we're not enemies. Not only are we not enemies, but we're also friends, Charlotte said with a smile. I like broad-minded men like you. Let's go in and have some tea, Yu Shanhe said with a smile. A cup of tea to forget enmity? Dream on, Charlotte said lightly. Sorry, Chief Yu, I have something to deal with. Another day. Yu Shanhe's face suddenly became ugly. What kind of person was he? If he was in ancient times, he would be a prominent governor with troops in his hands. Everywhere he went, he would be served like an ancestor. But now, the boss of a private company was talking to him in such a tone. What made him even more uncomfortable was that even if the boss spoke to him in such a tone, he still had to grit his teeth and accept it. Not for anything else, but because the boss was Charlotte. He didn't care about Charlotte in the past, but now Charlotte was out of his league. They parted on bad terms. Yu Shanhe brushed past Ling Hao. It's really a case of a vile man getting his way, and his chickens and dogs rising to the heavens. Yu Shanhe's eyes flashed with hatred. If I knew he could develop to this extent, I should have killed him. Ling Hao sighed. Chief Yu, it's not your fault. Who could have imagined this situation? I must have misjudged him. Hateful. I have given him a way out. I even expressed my goodwill to him personally, but he didn't appreciate it. Yu Shanhe thought of Charlotte's ridiculing tone and gritted his teeth. He is now a popular man in the eyes of the higher-ups. It's difficult to deal with him now. Difficult? There are no clean capitalists in this world. It only took him a few years to develop to this point. I don't believe he has never done anything immoral. Yu Shanhe said. Chief Yu, you mean? Ling Hao stopped in his tracks. Yu Shanha looked back, and when he was sure there was no one behind him, he whispered in Ling Hao's ear, "Check what he has done. I've investigated him before. That kid really hasn't done anything seriously illegal or immoral." Ling Hao said, "He must have done something illegal, but those things can't touch him at all. If I could, I would have done it when I was still in the Xian Bureau. I wouldn't have waited until today." "If you can't touch him, can't you touch the people around him?" Ling Hao frowned slightly. The current Charlotte was someone he absolutely didn't want to provoke. However, he felt that Yu Shanha had been blinded by hatred. Yu Shanha smiled faintly. "I know what you are thinking. I am not an impulsive person. My plan is—" Ling Hao listened, nodded slightly, and then a smile appeared on his face. "You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.